Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with three key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events, live, as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. And to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent.
Good evening, malcontents. I am David the Malcontent. It's another Malcontentment Happy Hour. Yes, it's ironically named. First of all, first thing I want to get out of the gate, go ahead and spam those hearts. Spam those hearts if you're watching us on Facebook or if you're watching us on Twitch. On Twitch, you can use emotes. Go ahead and blow those comments up. If you're on YouTube, you could just do something like, love you mods, love you admins. Let them know that you give to love. Go ahead and spam those cards and mess with the Facebook AI to let people think there's something worthwhile watching on this. Hello, TikTok. How are you? People on TikTok, you've been coming in waiting for the pre-roll. We have Malcontentment Happy Hour. The topic tonight is the same topic as last week. It's COVID. However, we are going to be talking a little bit more about, because there was a lot of national COVID news today. So we're going to talk about national COVID news today. Hey, this is kind of... I'm going to fix something here. Bear with me. Actually, I don't know how to fix. People on the other channels, I'm not seeing your comments. Mods, admins, if you could relay comments over to TikTok. I'm not getting comment feed. And it's not on my side. All right, we're going to go ahead. We're going to dive into this. Let's go ahead and dive into this. Wait a minute. I don't know what's going on. This is what happens when somebody pings you with a COVID story 10 minutes before you go on the air. And you're like, give it to me. Give it to me now. I'm going on the air. You got to give it to me now. And they're like, okay, wait, maybe later. I'm like, okay, good. All right, there we go. I want to start off with a quote from Marie Curie. If you're not familiar with Marie Curie, and if you are, I'm not trying to patronize you, but not everybody is. If you're not familiar with Marie Curie, she is the person who essentially discovered radiation and radium. And she has a quote, and she said, "Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood." This is a really important quote. And the reason I feel that this is such an important quote for the topic that we're going to be discussing today is, man, computer is not cooperating tonight, is radiation is something to be respected, right? It's not something, well, it's certainly something to be feared if you're all in it, but it is something to be respected. We can study it, we can learn about it, we can harness it, but we don't want to roll around in it. And it's a great quote because it applies so well to COVID. And that's why I start with the Marie Curie quote about nothing in life is to be feared. We're going to talk about scary topics tonight, but that doesn't mean that you should be afraid of the conversation. All right. First thing I want to start off with is a little accountability. On December 26th, we wrote a story. Washington hospitals will face an unprecedented capacity crisis in January. I'm going to read a quote out of that story real quick. Folks on TikTok, you're going to see my eyes down because I'm reading. When it comes to the state ability to cope with another surge, Washington State Hospital Association Vice President Tanya Briley minced no words during a December 23rd press briefing. Even if most people don't get really sick, there is a lot of people who are getting impacted with Omicron, and some portion of them will get severely ill and will need hospital care. Even if it's a small portion of the overall total, this could mean a huge number of people getting sick, enough to need hospitalizations. Mark Taylor of the Washington Medical Coordination Center at Harborview Medical Center in Seattle echoed her perspective. We really do not currently have the capacity within our facilities to accommodate a large surge as we just came through with the Delta surge. The most recent data from the Washington State Department of Health on Wednesday, December 22nd, there were 702 COVID patients hospitalized in Washington, with 95 requiring ventilators. The number of hospitalized patients has increased 13% in 48 hours. Before the Christmas holiday data break, using the 7-day moving average data from the Healthcare Readiness tab from the Washington State Hospitalization Department of Health COVID dashboard, there are estimated 652 staffed acute care beds and 145 staffed ICU beds available across Washington State. If COVID cases were to double over the next 10 days, regional hospitals will run out of all beds unless other measures are taken. Now, when I say regional hospitals, that means Puget Sound. The teaser to that story was an analysis of available data using models from the United Kingdom indicates Washington will run out of hospital resources by January 15th. I took some heat, particularly on TikTok, on that story. Fear-mongering fake news! I'm kind of doing a sad victory lap. I'm not happy about it. Anybody knows I've been saying when I brought this up, prove me wrong, make me wrong. I want to be wrong. I'm not wrong. What do we know? Let's go. What are we looking for next? Is Omicron more transmissible than Delta? We talked about this last week. It's yes with an asterisk. Why is there an asterisk? Because we do not have a scientific peer-reviewed study that says, by golly, yes, it is more. And that's why it gets the asterisk. If we wait for the peer-reviewed study, it's going to be over anyway. But we could just look at the numbers. Is Omicron more vaccine resistant? Yes. And there's a bunch of studies, and we've got numbers coming out of that. There were numbers that came out of the Washington State Department of Health, Washington State Department of Health today that showed that breakthrough infections have increased 43%. Is Omicron more severe than Delta? Nuance. More severe than Delta. And the answer to that is unlikely. But that doesn't mean it's the M word. I'm not saying the word anymore. That word's put to bed. We're going to get into it. Let's talk about South Africa and what South Africa can teach us, because this is really important for everyone in the United States. I'm going to teach you how to do it yourself epidemiology. I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm a data geek. Let's go through new cases in South Africa. The first Omicron case was sequenced. That is, they uploaded it to the GSAD database on November 11. On November 18, Lancet Labs in South Africa started seeing S-gene target failures, SGTFs. You'll see people that are on by the way, if you want to see the slides, I forgot to say this, malcontentnews.tv, that's the easiest place to go. We're on TikTok, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we're on Twitch right now. If you want to see the slides, go over to malcontentnews.tv. That'll take you right to Twitch. You don't need an account. You don't even need the app. You can go right in the browser. So November 18th was the first cases spotted. November 26th, World Health Organization goes, hey, we have a variant of concern. If we look at when Lancet Labs goes, hey, we're starting to see S-gene target failures, to the peak, and the peak was December 16th, that's 28 days. So it took 28 days to go from start to peak. So there's places we're seeing right now Miami, New York City, Washington, D.C., right? The numbers are starting to do this. I love the hat. Oh my God. Sheriff Omicron here. People give me the hat. You get Sheriff Omicron voice for 5 seconds. You give me the hat. The numbers are doing this. So we know it's about 28 days. And that's what we're seeing in the United States. That's what they've seen in the UK. That's what we're seeing in Denmark. That's what they're going to see in Australia. There's another thing. You can't see the slides on TikTok. Everybody else can see it. There's another thing that's going on. The cases don't go down as fast as they rose. There is a long tail. But I will say this, the surge, the wave, it is winding down in South Africa. And there's a sad reason why we know that. So here are some important dates to remember here. November 18, which is, hey, we got cases. November 16th, cases reached their peak. Those are two important dates. Now let's talk real quick about rate of recovery. Rate of recovery is still hovering around in South Africa around 93%. If you look at the graph, and I know if you just came in on TikTok, you're like, what graph? There's slides, but on other channels. I can't show them to you on TikTok. They're hovering around 93.3%, and it's been there for a while. It's starting to go up. Why isn't it high? 93. You mean that almost 7% of people have gone yeet? No, that's not what that means. Rate of recovery includes people that are still in the hospital, and we don't know what's going to happen to them. And there's a lot of people in South Africa that are still in the hospital. Okay, next one, yeets. By the way, if you're on our other channels, if you're on our Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch channel, there are certain words that TikTok doesn't like you to say. It's kind of Orwellian, so we try to avoid the D word. So there is no disrespect on using yeet or unalives. If we look at the yeets, the 7-day moving average is up to 110. It went up again today. That is the highest it has been, full stop. It is not. It's been much higher in South Africa. You're scaring people. It's the highest it's been for the Omicron wave. Cool your jets. The other thing is, it is still going up. And if you can see the chart, that's for everyone else, you can see very clearly on December 11, the line starts to move upward. Remember what I said, important dates to remember. Peak cases, December 15, 16. Mortality on lives starts to go up right around the time that cases are starting to peak. And guess what we're seeing here in the United States? The next thing is hospitalizations. This is the slide, and this is the data that really worries me. Back to South Africa. Remember, I've told you important dates. Let's recap one more time. November 18, hey, we got Omicron. December 11, unalive start to go up. December 15, 16, cases start to peak. We don't know peak mortality. We know it could be right on the 13th. We're to the 13th. It could be. We could start seeing going down, but I don't think so. I don't think we're quite there yet. Hospitalizations peaked between December 31 and January 6. They bounced from 9,400 to 9,600 between those days, but they stayed on a 3-week plateau between 9,300 and 9,000. 3 weeks at peak. They're at 8,500 today. The cases don't go down fast. There's been this narrative of, oh, you're in the hospital for a day or two. You get some IV fluids, it's some bad hospital food, and you go home. No. For some people, yes. Particularly the unvaccinated, it's a big fat no. There is a ton of evidence that is growing. If you are unvaccinated, you get sick, you land in the hospital. It's no different than if you got any of the other variants for the case progression. The thing that is hidden, the mild, is because there's a lot of breakthrough cases, so you have people who are having breakthrough cases who are getting hospitalized. Those are the people that are in for a few days. People that are really sick to begin with. And I get what the CDC, well, I'm going to pause for a minute. I get what the CDC was trying to communicate. And they did, and I get the video was edited. It was like, well, they left all this stuff out. They should have left that punchline out, period. It was ableist. It was absolutely ableist. the number on its own didn't need the cherry on top. They proved the point on the number. But then to throw in and this very small group of people had 4 comorbidities, so it was incredible. I have a disabled daughter. It's just incredibly, by the way, daughter, people on TikTok, because I saw that in the comments before I got on the air. And I wanted to start with it, and we had a little technical, and I just started running. Daughter is okay. She is sore, she is bruised, and she is okay. So thank you, everybody, for your support, your concern, and your comments. It's appreciated. But the hospitalizations are very high. They are starting to go down just in the last maybe week. The trend is starting to go in the right direction. But the 7-day moving average is 110 unalives a day now. That's 7-day moving average. So that's not every day, but that's to flatten it out. There were 290 less hospitalizations from yesterday, the 12th, the report on the 12th, to the report this morning. But that means 110 people, they went out the back doors of the hospital. They didn't get to go home. So it's not like, yay, hospitalizations are going down. And that's why I started this off with, we are seeing the finish, the final act in South Africa, and no one's talking about it, which is, unfortunately, there's a significant number of people who are unaliving right now. And the numbers will probably continue to go up for a week or two, would be my guess, but I could be wrong. Now, I kept saying important dates, important dates, important dates. What does this mean? Oh, this case hospitalization thing, I'm actually just going to move kind of quick on this because it's more on slides, but we are tracking it. Again, if you're not watching on Malcontent News TV, you're like, what slide? Don't worry about it. Or if you're on the other channels, TikTok, you're going like, what the hell is he talking about? If you're on these other channels, what's going on there, what this chart is showing is kind of receipts on a model that we developed. And the reason I'm showing this is this model is informing what we believe is going to happen in Washington State. And it's been working really well, unfortunately. So what does South Africa teach us? New cases peak about 28 days after the first S gene target failure appears. Now, you're like, but we're a country, right? We're this vast country. We are geographically bigger than South Africa, and we have about 6 times the population, about 6.3. So we have a lot more people. So if you think of like the states as individual countries, because not everybody got it the same time. Seattle, and Washington State is a good example of this. And I'm gonna get into this a little deeper, but like Puget Sound is peaking right about now. Eastern Washington, there's some areas in Eastern Washington, you're just showing up to the COVID party. You still got 2 weeks to go before you'll find the peak. There are cities I mentioned earlier in the United States, Miami, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, New York City. Cases have peaked, but hospitalizations haven't peaked. I think in New York they have. New York is probably the earliest to this entire party. Florida hasn't peaked for hospitalization. Now, Florida got a long way to go. New cases don't decline initially as the surge. I think a lot of people are not grasping that. It doesn't go up and then come crashing down. It's not doing that. It goes up, it crashes maybe about halfway, and then it slowly tails off. Peak hospitalizations are 14 to 21 days after the peak cases. So if you're in an area, because what I'm seeing is like I really wish people in my vocation would do better, because some of the headlines I'm seeing is, good news, cases have peaked. And not a lot of people, if not, we're still weeks away from that part of the pandemic. It is not, it's good news. Cases have peaked. Now the really terrible part starts. Peak hospitalization sustained for 18 to 25 days. That's what we're seeing in South Africa. You don't hit peak hospitalization, it comes crashing down. What we're seeing is this long plateau before it comes down. Unalives start to increase about the same time of the peak of new cases, and unalives don't peak until at least because we only are 11 days past. If we go by the older date, we're only about 11 or 12 days past from the middle of that peak if we split the difference. So we're not sure. We need more data. We got a long way to go. United States and Washington. It's going to be a long January. It's going to be a long February. And for some areas that arrived at this COVID party a little later, it's going to go into March. Unvaccinated and hospitalized case progression is no different than previous variants. Already mentioned that. Let's talk about the national situation. United States, 63% of the population fully vaccinated, 851,190 lab-confirmed COVID cases yesterday. USA, number one. Oh, we would only be number one at that. 23.8% positivity. I think it's positively awful. That's why I do one show a night, folks. One show a night. You like that, don't you? You like that. This is my pet. It's my pet COVID. It's coming for you. COVID vision. Daily new hospital admissions are up to the same rate that they were on January 2nd of 2021. When we barely had any vaccines. But it's a cold. 154,000 United States residents are hospitalized. That is an all-time record, and it will probably reach double that number. 58% are in because of COVID, right? And we're going to dive into because this is another one that people are throwing out. Well, they're in there, it's coincidental with. There are a couple of physicians who got in front of cameras in South Africa that did the world so much disservice. I get where they were coming from. They had the travel ban and all this economic harm slammed on them, which, by the way, was pointless. And we know that because the cases were already out all over. We know the first case was in the United States on November 15th. So we implement a travel ban on November 29, 2 weeks after the first case is here. And I get it. They're trying to convince the world this isn't going to be bad. You can lift the travel. That's where they were going. But people bought into this. We're going to get into. There's a very important. I got a great little nugget with receipts. If you're new to the channel, I always bring receipts. 25,621 United States residents are in the ICU with COVID. That is 30% of all patients in the ICU are in there with 30%. This is getting up to what we were seeing in previous waves. 1,871 unalives a day now, 7-day moving average. Every 46 seconds, another U.S. resident dies. I'm going to say it again. Every 46 seconds, another U.S. resident is unalived because they have COVID. 75% of them are red voters. I care about people. I wish you'd care about yourselves. Let's talk about supply chain. I'm not going to use a very professional word here. It's a shit show. Go ahead. I wish I would say, let me know your comments. I can't see your comments on 4 of the 5 channels, but you can see the comments. I can see 1 comment at a time on the feed over here. Go into the comments. Talk about your supply chain issues. Go ahead, light it up. Talk about your supply chain issues. There's empty store shelves. It isn't all just because of COVID. The supply chain was already fragile. We've had severe weather all across the United States. Some supply items are flown on aircraft. And we have about 10 to 25% of commercial flights being canceled today because of severe weather and air crews being too sick to fly. There is a railroad strike that is potentially coming. BNSF is threatening to go on strike. It's going to make things worse. Here in the Puget Sound area in Washington, and also in Eastern Washington, you're being hit for different things. Western Washington, our store shelves are empty because the passes have been closed. And last week, for about half a day, I-5 was fully closed. And then by DuPont, there was major roadbed, DuPont, Washington, there was major roadbed damage that caused severe traffic delays. Stuff can't get in here. Trucks can't get over the passes because they're so snowed in. And the other thing that happened is they got historical amounts of snow on the east slopes of the Cascades. My peeps out in Chelan, Wenatchee, Leavenworth, y'all got buried with a capital B. Buried. And the passes, not only did they get ridiculous amounts of snow, they got wind, they got avalanches, they got landslides, they got trees, and then it got really warm and it dumped rain, and that causes avalanches. And so there's been this perfect storm, bad wording, I know, cliche. There's been this perfect storm of bad weather and pass closures and the holidays, and supply chain was weak to begin with, and people are sick with COVID, and it's all come together. And it's not going to get better soon. Don't panic buy. You're going to have to be patient. If you see stuff in the store, because the other thing is, if you've been following me, this gets both cameras. If you've been following me, I've been saying since the day we learned about Omicron, and I talked to some people a lot smarter than me about it, and I started telling people, y'all need to start getting ready for supply chain disruptions. Wouldn't steer you wrong. And I bring receipts, and when I get it wrong, I will look you in the eyes and say, I was wrong. There's actually a TikTok where I go, I was wrong. You can go find it. So what are people out of? Produce, fresh meat, canned pet food. Canned pet foods. The thing about the canned pet foods, what I understand, it's the aluminum shortage. It's the cans, it's not the food. Like cat food is just ridiculous. Bread and dairy products. What we are hearing nationally, staples, your canned goods, some of your frozen, it might be thin. You might go into the store and it's like, oh my God, there's no pasta today. But it's not bad. And yes, we have heard some stories of stores completely wiped out. Next national story I want to talk about. Pfizer CEO says we need booster shots. And there's some people that are just, over this. I have a slide up. If you're on malcontentnews.tv, you can see the slide. We've shown this slide since early December from the study of the Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson vaccines that was done out of Boston that shows that 2 doses is not enough. There are countless studies that say 2 doses are not enough. I don't understand where the shock and awe came from where we need booster shots. People have been saying we need booster shots since September of last year when Joe Biden wanted to make boost. By the way, I am not happy with Joe Biden. I'm going to say some surprising things about Joe Biden tonight. If you think that you're going to be surprised. But I will call this. I'll call this shot. Joe Biden said boosters for everybody in September. And FDA and the CDC, I don't know. Really? Should we? I don't know. And we had the data. We had the data from Israel. And if you think that's, go look at Israel's numbers compared to almost any other country. And remember, who was the 3rd country to have Omicron? Botswana was number 1, technically, because it wasn't detected in South Africa, although we know it was somewhere in Africa. Botswana number 1, South Africa number 2, Israel was number 3. Go look at the numbers at Israel. By the way, who's getting sick in Israel? Unvaccinated kids. Don't look at it now. Stick around and watch this. But then go look at the numbers in Israel and get back to me. Boosters work. I want to talk about the SCOTUS decision. Supreme Court of the United States. He just said a dirty word. I did not talk about... You have a filthy mind. Do you know that? I said SCOTUS, not... The decision on the OSHA vax rule. They killed it. And what SCOTUS says, 6-3 decision along party lines. It squashes the OSHA rule that 100 or more employees have to have a vaccine mandate or a test mandate, right? They can opt out. You could do testing. It left the national healthcare worker mandate in place. Now here, you ready for the surprise? People on the other channels have the surprise. I agree with this decision. Surprise. Now, do I agree with this from a public health standpoint? Absolutely not. But do I agree with this from a constitutional standpoint? I do. I am not a constitutional lawyer, nor did I sleep at Holiday Inn Express last night. Gen X and millennials will get that joke. Gen Z just, what the hell did this old guy just say? Someone explained it to him in the comments. I love you, Gen Z. I am not talking down to you. I love you. Why do I agree with it? Because this upholds the principles that were established in Ferguson versus Massachusetts. And it put the power in the hands of the states. And this was the right decision. And I've talked about this. I'm going to go ahead and flip to both cameras. I talked about this before I started moving the show lives over here on my other channels. And one of the things I had brought up was, because somebody was like, why don't you talk about this? Why aren't you talking about the OSHA rules? And I'm like, because it's going to get killed. This is not going to pass constitutional muster. So surprise. Longtime malcontents are not surprised. People that are newer to me might be a little surprised by that. But longtime malcontents go, oh, no, no, no. He looks at the Constitution with a very, very strict view. That includes all the amendments. That's why I started the show with this show's got something for everybody. This is a pretty politically neutral show tonight. I'm going to make everybody happy and everybody mad. And if I do that, and I don't lose any followers in the process, I've done my job. Anyway, I agree with the decision. Glenn Beck. See, we're going to do a little national roundup here. Old school malcontents. By the way, spam those hearts. Go ahead and spam those hearts. Spam those hearts on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. Not TikTok. Yes, go ahead and spam them on TikTok. Go ahead and spam those hearts on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Let your mods and admins know that you appreciate all the hard work they are doing, because boy, they are working hard. And I love when you put like the goofy sunglasses and hat stuff on me. So make it happen, TikTok. Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck got the Rona back on December 2020. Now there are, the malcontent giveth to you, conservatives, and now I'm going to take it away. The malcontent taketh away from you, liberals, and now I'm gonna give you something. Now you're gonna make me mad. Glenn Beck. He had a previous COVID infection December 2020. Last month, he claimed the United States co-owns the vaccine. He's not getting it at all. And there are some people in some circles that are like, you're imparted with lifetime immunity, and natural immunity is better than the vaccine. I'm like, you are not imparted with lifetime immunity. Not sure where that came from. There is data that shows that, yes, in the 30, 60, 90 days after infection, you have a very good, strong immune response, but it starts to fade away after about 5 months. There's tons of studies that show this. You know, he's got his second, he got the Omicron, he's been visited by, do you want me to get the hat? I should have the hat. I almost brought the hat. I put the hat on and said, he's gotten a visit from Sheriff Omicron. And he says it's in his lungs. He did an interview. He says he's on the other side of it, but it's in his lungs. So I'm like, it's in your lungs. I love the hat. Sheriff Omicron. It's in my lungs, but I'm getting better. It's very Monty Python-ish. He's following the Joe Rogan healthcare plan. And one of the things that he's taking is the malaria pills. If I say what it is, TikTok might take me off the air. Did you know that FLCCC does not recommend the malaria pills once it gets into your pulmonary system? Did you know that? You're making it up! No, I'm not. I'm not going to share the document because I am not going to be a party of spreading disinformation. But if you go to the FLCC website, they have a document there about math-I and treatment, like a very detailed document. And the malaria pills, once it get in the lungs, it's a no. I told you, I'm going to give you, I'm going to take it away. I'm going to do this all night. I'm going to give you something, I'm going to take it away. I'm going to give you something to take it away. Old school malcontents, it's like he's going back to his roots. Florida, I told you there's a lot of national news. We're going to get to Washington. I know some people watching like, I'm getting tired. Can you please just get to it? Florida, those 1 million tests in a warehouse that had already received a 3-month extension that expired a second time, they were granted another 3-month extension. So they're going to get distributed and used. By the way, Florida, congratulations. You're 7th in new cases in the entire United States, and you're 13th in hospitalizations, and both are still going up like a rocket. I predicted Ron DeSantis' victory over COVID declaration on October 27th was going to go over about as well as week-old milk on the kitchen counter. And Sheriff Omicron very amused. Monoclonal antibodies, real quick. Evishield, Sotrovimab. Those are the only two. The rest don't work. Glenn Beck very upset, by the way, that he can't get monoclonal antibodies. And first, well, I'm not getting those because I don't think I need them. By the way, Glenn, dude, once it's in your lungs, monoclonal antibodies are a nope. By the way, FLCCC, the Math Plus protocols and all, this big 30-page document, yeah, contraindicated once it's in your lungs. Sotrovimab, 265,000 doses. It's been distributed across the United States. Florida burned through it in 6 days. I don't get you, Florida. Evishield, about 65,000 doses. I know people are really looking for this. I've heard a couple of news stories where people have gotten it and it's worked, and they're just like, miracle. So Paxlovid, about 300,000 doses. Molnupiravir, there's millions, that's what we're told, millions of doses, but we don't know. We don't know how well this really works, and we have no numbers on whether people are getting it or not. This is one of the reasons why we were heading into January, I was saying, because people were saying, what about monoclonal antibodies? What about social media? It's like, what's available is a drop in the bucket compared to the number of cases we're having. And this is why all through December and even to early January, I was begging people to get vaccinated. And I said over and over again, if you are relying on monoclonal, if that's your plan, well, I'll just get monoclonal antibodies. That's the wrong plan. Because you know who's going to get the monoclonal antibodies, especially to a state like Florida? If you think it's regular slobs like you and me, not happening. Because versus with. This is an important conversation. This is a really one, right? Because Dr. Angelique Coetzee has done so much disservice to the world with some of the stuff she said out of the gate. We have some data out of the United States. So what do you mean because with? Hospitalized because of COVID, or hospitalized because you were in a car accident and, oh, we discovered you have COVID. That coming in because you have COVID pneumonia, that's because. Coming in because both your legs are broken in a car accident and they test you and go, oh, you also have COVID, just to add to your problems. That's with, because versus with. New York, 58-42. Washington State, right now about 65-35. There was a study that was done by the VA. It's a peer-reviewed study. It came out in September of 2021. The Veterans Association evaluated over 50,000 hospitalizations. And what they wanted to know is because versus with. Now, how did they define it, right? Because you got to remember, that's a little tough to define. They defined because if somebody had severe COVID. Well, what's severe COVID? Severe COVID is your blood oxygen, SaO2. Your oxygen level in your blood is below 94% with oxygen therapy. So you're receiving oxygen, and your oxygen is equal to or below 94. That's how they define severe in the study. During the original strain, what the VA found, it was about 75-25. 75% because, 25% with. Now, with the alpha strain, it dropped. It went to 65-35. And they had data to the end of June. So just the very beginning of Delta in the United States. There's like a month of Delta in there, and it was about 55-45. So why did it go down? There's two takeaways here. Takeaway number one, well, wait a minute. You just said New York's at 58-42, and you can go look that up. There's receipts for that. You're saying Washington's at 65-35, and you're saying with Delta we were 55-45. That's all kind of in the same range. So why the drop? Why did we go from 75-25 with the original strain? Because of vaccinations. That's not true. It don't work. Oh no, I brought receipts. If you can see the slides, malcontentnews.tv, you can see the receipts. Here is the graphic that is from the study. And you can see that when the cases initially come in, there is a big bump that pushes about 75%. It holds steady. And then when vaccinations arrive, that's that block dotted line. Because versus with starts to go down. So here's what I'm trying to communicate. This whole because with discussion, it's no different than the other strains. And I brought receipts. So stop. Because it's the same. That's number one. Number two, to a hospital, because versus with doesn't matter at all. Because they have to use the same disease protocols. If they're doing because versus with, they have to do infectious disease control. Hospitalists have to wear PPE. They have to don and doff. All of this, it requires more time. Think about this. You have somebody that comes into the, let's put back to the camera. Think about this for a minute. You don't have to be like a medical specialist for this, because I just talk to a lot of medical specialists. Let's say you've got somebody and they need medication to improve the clotting factors in their blood. Their blood's not clotting very well. Say they have a car accident, they have a liver injury. That's a good, because the liver just gets all these little fine little cat and just bleeds and bleeds and bleeds. So we want them to clot. But if they're in there with COVID, giving them a clotting agent is contraindicated. See, it complicates things. If you have somebody in there with COVID versus because, you still have to monitor a mild or moderate infection to make sure it's not becoming a severe infection. It doesn't matter. There is much work for the hospital, whether it's because or with. And COVID patients need more staff, which then means the hospital can care for less people. Okay, enough about because versus with. All right, Washington State. If you stuck around Washington, congratulations. Tara Briley again. This is the worst situation hospitals in Washington State have been in compared to any prior point during the pandemic. She said that this morning. And this was after their literally depressing press briefing last week, where they literally said this is the most depressing press briefing we've ever done. Oh no, this one was worse. What's our current situation? 71% of people 5 and over are fully vaccinated. 2.1 million Washingtonians have received boosters. There's like 4 million people that are eligible now. Only half of the eligible have gotten their boosters. Please get your boosters. We estimate there's 361 staffed acute care beds and 90 staffed ICU beds available in Washington State. This has been supplemented by 200 FEMA workers that arrived quietly in Washington State that the Washington State Hospital Association talked about in their press briefing earlier today. So the numbers have gone up. Now I need to explain something because I'm not going to get there. We'll get there in a minute. Then we'll do it. New case rate across Washington, 868.7 per 100,000 residents, 7-day moving average. That's actually down. It was worse. The state can't report positivity on state data, at least until the end of February, and we won't have it at the end of February. Omicron, about 86 to 90% of cases in the state of Washington. Test positivity today, 36.9%. So almost More than 1 out of 3, not quite, not quite 2 out of 5. So somewhere in between. I'm like trying to do the math in my head, and I'm like 37 to 100 fractionalized. That's too friggin' hard on the air. So I'm not exactly sure what it is. I know I have some data nerds. Someone's going to let me know in the comments. Test positivity, 36.9%. That is positively terrible. Washington has over 2,050 people hospitalized for COVID. The 7-day moving average is now 1,850. If you were looking at the slides, you are seeing this equally magnificent and horrific at the same time. This perfect linear line that is just going up and up and up. That linear line is going to keep going up for another 2 to 3 weeks, just as you see it now. This line is not going to slow down. This is a runaway freight train. The other thing, for the last 3 days, there's been data missing in the state reports. This is not the full picture. The numbers will be worse when they come out tomorrow. 3 day, it's a little better today. They backfilled in some missing data. The report said they would have it all filled in for tomorrow. So it's worse. By the way, that's records. The 7-day moving average, the total hospitalization number, that's records. We're out of hospital space. Now you might be going, you're lying again, scaring people. You just said there's 369 beds and 90 ICU beds, and now you're telling me there's nothing? Liar. Those are all beds. We can't put COVID patients in every hospital bed. We need labor and delivery beds. People are still having babies. We can't kick people out of burn wards. We can't turn burn wards into COVID units. So you have burn wards, you have, right? People are still going to have people try to yeet them. There's still going to be DV. There's still going to be ODs. There's still going to be industrial accidents and car accidents and people that are going to need trauma, surgery, and support. If we fill up every ICU bed, then we can't support that at all. The definition of crisis standards of care is not people are now dying in the parking lot, although that literally can happen and did happen in Idaho and in Alaska and a couple other states. But if you're at 0-0, then people are having babies at home, right? This didn't happen. So you have to understand, those 369 beds, that's PACU, post-surgical, that is labor and delivery, and those ICU beds, critical surgery, someone comes in, massive stroke, heart attack, massive, not like, okay, we can send you home, sorry, we're in crisis standards of care, heart attack, massive heart attack, burns. There's no beds, Washington. There's only one hospital district that I can look in this camera right now and tell you still has some beds. I'm not going to read off all the numbers. And by the way, if you like the rundowns, there will be one very late tonight. I will do the rundown slide, I hope, if I have it in the gas tank. East, both in Spokane, both your hospital networks have said they're over 100%. Both of them. They're full. ICUs are full, beds are full. And we can't blame Idaho this time. I love that. It's so awesome. We can't blame Idaho. This is us. And the thing that I'm really worried about, the Eastern Washington, I'm really worried about y'all. Really worried. Because during the Delta surge, you had Western, and I'm not saying this but you had Western Washington propping you up. And because Western Washington was propping up Eastern Washington, you were able to give a tiny bit to Idaho. And I know Eastern Washington peeps were getting frustrated, including peeps that I'm not their jam. Because I got a couple of messages, emails through like tips and stuff. It's like, man, I don't like you, but because I was saying for Idaho, we need to dig a trench and fill it with gasoline and throw a match. They're going to listen to Dr. Ryan Cole. I don't want them pushing us into crisis standards of care with them. And I literally got a couple of messages in our tip emails like, dude, you are not my jam. I'm not getting back, but I totally agree. I am so mad at these people from Idaho coming over. So I hear you, Eastern, and I love those emails, by the way. I love when I get those emails. North region. So Eastern Washington, you're wiped out. You do have some acute care beds, but those acute care beds are generally in rural hospitals that are just not equipped to deal with COVID patients. So you might be listening to me go, well, we have this little 20-bed hospital up the road and there's nobody in there. Yes, because everybody has COVID. That's what people are being hospitalized for, and they don't have the skills, the tools, the technology for it. North, that's the island counties, Skagit and Whatcom. You're full. You're wiped out. North Central, that is East Slopes of the Cascades and Chelan and I love the Dry Lakes area, but I love that area. And you're wiped out. Not only are you wiped out, but your ICU, 35% of your ICU patients have COVID. Northwest, Olympic Peninsula, you are truly wiped out. You have nothing. Your hospitals are completely full. 97% acute care, 98.6% ICU. When you start seeing 97% on this chart, that's when you know it's full. And by the way, this chart, you're not going to see 105%, 112%. They don't count. Those are called borders. People that are in the hallway or in the ED, the emergency department, the medical term for them is borders. These are people that they have no bed. So they are being treated in the emergency department as a patient, which is a horrific place to be a patient, or a hallway. They're in the hallway as patients. And there are hospitals, according to Multicare, that said today that they are now boarding patients in the waiting areas of the emergency rooms, and they have set up tents as emergency rooms in 2022 America. Puget Sound, we're wiped out. We're wiped out. Hospitals are full. They're beyond full. South Central, Washington wine country. You have a little bit of room left, but I know some people in Washington wine country is like, I saw some of your comments before the show got on the, hey, we're going to do a live. It's like, well, we're late to this party. It's going to get bad soon. Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. Washington wine country is definitely last to the COVID party. This is the area that probably won't see a peak for about 18 weeks. Do you like wine? Oh, very much so. Very much looking forward to going drinking much wine. Southwest region, that is mouth of the, and I told Clark County peeps, I'm going to talk about you because I'm really furious at the state government. Clark County and the whole Southwest, mouth of the Columbia, Vancouver, Washington, I've been tracking this since March of 2020. Not just Washington, nationally, I've never seen hospitals fill up as fast as they filled up in your region. It was stunning to watch what's happened from Friday to Friday. It's like, you guys are good. You're good. You're full. You're wiped out. You are literally wiped out. Your acute care is at 98%. Your ICU is at 98%. Your ICU is just under 30% COVID. And your acute care is at 22% COVID. And I know, because you all from Vancouver have been lighting up my comments about there's no tests. We can't get a test at all. We can't find boosters. We can't find vaxes. I'm hearing it. And I will tell you this, the mainstream media, COIN, they're hearing it too. Now, COIN wasn't in today's press conference with the governor. We didn't get an invite either. And the questions were real. If you didn't catch the press conference today, those questions were just a bunch of softballs. Me and our admins, editorial team, researchers, we were just like, why is nobody asking this? Why is nobody asking that? I want to let you know that I pinged 2 MSM reporters, mainstream media reporters, during that press conference going, hey, I don't know if you have somebody there. I don't know if you're there. Can you please, if you get a question, can you please ask this for Clark County? I don't think either of those stations were there. I hear you, and I am beyond horrified that you get nothing. It doesn't make any sense to me. on why the Southwest region is getting nothing. And we'll talk a little bit more about what was announced today. The West region. This is Olympia, the counties that go around the bottom of Puget Sound out to the Pacific Coast counties. You're not full. The problem that you have is your hospitals are full of COVID. 33%, 1 out of 3 of your acute care patients have COVID. Almost half of your ICU, 48% have COVID. So you might be looking at this chart, if you can see the slides at malcontentnews.tv, and going, well, wait a minute, you're saying we're full, but we're at 88.7%, 89.8%. You're full because COVID patients take up so many resources. We're full. We are tapped out. There is nothing left. And people saw my post from a couple of days ago. I experienced this firsthand with my daughter. I'm not going to go into case rates and stuff. If you're on the malcontentnews.tv, you could go ahead and soak it up. It's all really bad. We have it by the regions. It's all really bad. There is a lot of signs. King, Pierce, Snohomish County. I also believe Thurston County and Clallam. Oh, there we go. County. I think you all have hit your peaks. So I think it goes this way. There's some evidence that King County is hitting its peak. And those counties I just rattled off kind of started going kaboom at about the same time as King County. Because wrestling matches, why would we wear masks and all of this stuff with a new variant around? What could possibly go wrong? So what did Governor Inslee announce today that he's going to do? I'm salty. Our whole team is salty. This is why I could never work in real news. Because I'm just going to sit here and tell you what a great job the governor did today. Call it as I see it. We're deploying 100 National Guard troops. There's already 17 that have been deployed. The other 83 will be deployed by the 24th of January. Those 100 are going to be supporting the emergency departments in non-medical capacity, doing intake and COVID testing. They're going to be deployed to the following hospitals: Providence Regional Medical Center in Everett. I hope those 17 that are deployed are there, because by the time the 24th rolls around, because Snohomish County is probably peaking now, they're not going to need these resources. They should have been deployed 2 weeks ago when I was jumping up and down and screaming, do something. Spokane, you're getting it. You're going to need it. So Spokane, Wenatchee, you're getting it. And I know you need it. Yakima, because I hear, Yakima, you've been lighting up the comments about how you can't find tests. And the Center for COVID Control was just doing a big FU to everybody out in Yakima. A major FU. And they were shut down today, right? You're getting one. And honestly, that would be my second choice. If there's 17 already doing this, I hope my second choice would be in Yakima. The only reason I put Everett first is that they can make a difference in Everett right now. You guys are a little behind on the party. Y'all. I just say you guys. The East Coast comes out. You guys. Okay, wait a minute. That's not where all those 100 National Guard is going. They're going some other places too. They're going to be deployed for testing only. They're going to Providence St. Peter Hospital in Olympia, where, again, probably hitting peak already. Going to Richland. Caldec Region. Did I say that right? Let me know if I effed that up in the comments. Caldec Regional Medical Center. UW Medical Center in Harborview at Seattle. Now, there's a little thing that I know about UW Medicine is that the testing situation has gotten so bad that staff and family of because if you have a close exposure, family has to get tested. Staff and family, it's very difficult to get tested for them. And so if you think Harborview, that's for all of UW, and that's why I think that's going on, because our medical workers can't get tested. Multicare, Tacoma General, which I know, again, Pierce County, I hear testing is tough. And it's the same situation there. Medical workers in Pierce County can't get tested. Possibly one of the reasons they're deploying in Olympia. But I am happy to see Spokane, Wenatchee, Yakima, Richland. I know you all need the testing there. Here's the next thing we're doing. We're suspending all non-urgent surgical procedures for 28 days. Hospitals are required to follow this order. This isn't like a recommendation. The doctors will decide what is urgent and what is non-urgent. GSW, bleeding out, urgent. That lumpectomy that you need to get that boobies cancer removed, yeah, that's probably not going to be considered urgent. We're in this place again. 80% across Washington State. It's different in King County. 80% of everybody hospitalized now with COVID in Washington State is frickin' unvaccinated. Frickin' unvaccinated. And here we frickin' are again. And yeah, I am salty about this. The cancer patients, F you. People waiting for a heart valve, F you. People waiting for a knee replacement, a hip replacement, an elbow replacement, rotator cuff repair. Yeah, F all of you. And then you have the nerve to go facts over feelings. See, I'm bashing Jay Inslee. I gave you something, and I'm going to take it away again. I'm going to hit you with reality. I'm not going to, if you're here because I have to pass some political litmus test, I'm probably not your guy. It's a 28-day pause. I'll bet money that gets extended. Here's the thing where I'm so cynical about this, and it was even acknowledged in the press conference. Several hospital networks have already implemented this. Yes, they have. So this is just kind of like, we're already doing this. So what does this do? What does this buy us? This was just like, I can't imagine how if you're a hospital worker, state of Washington, share your feelings in the comments. Let your fellow citizens know how you feel tonight about what Jay Inslee's doing to help you out. He's adding funds to bring in 200 additional long-term and nursing home staff. This is a big problem in Washington State. There's a medical term for people who are in the hospital, they're ready to be released, but there's nowhere to go. Some people consider it a prerogative. I am not doing this to insult elders. I'm just explaining the term in the medical community. They need to go to a nursing home. They need to go to a skilled facility, and they need memory care. There's nowhere to send them. They're called GOMers. The other thing is you may have somebody who is older and is kind of a frequent flyer in the hospital with a lot of complaints, and sometimes they can be called, my mother is probably called a GOMer at several hospitals around the area where she lives. Although she is very capable to go back home for the most part, but she's one of those frequent flyers with all sorts of problems. But she's a frequent flyer / GOMer. We have a lot of GOMers in Washington. And again, I am not saying this as a prerogative to the elderly. We have a lot of GOMers in the state of Washington. And there is no skilled nursing facilities that can take them. The other thing, now I went through this with my mother in 2020, so did my sister. Our mother before vaccinations got COVID. She got very, very sick. Like, didn't go on the ventilator, but like the talk came up. We're going to have to put her on a ventilator. The talk came up, what do you want to do? They talked to her and we didn't get to that point. But she had to go hundreds of miles away to find somewhere to take her for long-term rehab to free up that bed. Literally had to go in an ambulance 100 miles away. By the way, she's a long hauler. She has seizures now, and she's had multiple strokes. There was no vaccinations at the time. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and add 200 people for long-term funding. We're also adding funding to bring in 200 traveling healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, paramedics, respiratory therapists. There are already 875 deployed across Washington. This gives us capacity contractually to add 325 more. They're also going to bring in temporary guardians to help bring another 75 Gomers out, people who are mentally, spooky, who are mentally incapable of making their own decisions, because the guardianship laws in the state of Washington they're broken and they need to be fixed, but they're not going to get, we're not going to fix it in this legislation session, because why would we work on the real problems we're facing here, Washington? Look, I'm all about saving the planet. This stuff, when Jay Inslee talks about it, I get it, but it's like, we're on fire, man. I get we're on fire with the climate, but we're on fire with COVID here. This has never been this bad in this state. You have the long-term health, you have the hospital associations, you have all of them going past legislation. You're in session. Do something. Yeah, we're not going to do. We all know who runs this show, right? It's not you and me, not the politicians. Somewhere out there, somebody's got a very vested interest in keeping those laws the way they are. And we all know it. You want to know the best part of all this? This will help get up to 250 people that need to go to long-term care and 75 people that have memory care that need guardians out of the hospitals. But there was no timeline given on when these 200 people plus 75 are going to come. By the way, nobody asked the question from the reporters. That was one where we're just like, why is nobody asking? I mean, it's great you're doing it, because you know, they know, I know, it's not happening next week or the week after. This is not going to move the needle. Like, again, stuff we should have been doing a freaking month ago. I'm not a smart guy. I'm not a smart guy. Our researching team, we sat down, we looked at it, we looked at the models, we wrote it up, and we go, holy crap, we're going to run out of hospital room on January 15th. If we could see it, don't you think other people could see it? And on that happy topic, let's get on to the topic of vaccine breakthrough. By the way, go ahead and spam those hearts. Spam those hearts. Blow up those hearts on our Facebook, Twitch. On Twitch, you can use our emotes if you're an emote subscriber. You can, emote subscriber. If you're a Twitch subscriber, you can go ahead and use our emotes. The other thing that you can do is if you're on YouTube, you do big long line of hearts or love you malcontent, just in a non-creepy way. Same thing you, TikTok. Only non-creepy love. I love the crowd. Only non-creepy love, TikTok. All right, on December 23rd, King County, Washington keeps great records. On December 23rd, looking at the previous 30 days, they have a thing that shows outcomes by vaccination status. If you were vaccinated on December 23rd, 30 days back, you were 6 times less likely to get infected. You were 40 times less likely to end up in the hospital. That's massive. And you are 44 times less likely to get unalived. Now, remember, those are gates, right? You don't reach unalived. You have to win the bad lottery. You have to win the Shirley Jackson lottery. You just said you weren't smart. Where are my Gen Z peeps? We know, right? We know who Shirley Jackson is. We read this in school. We all know who Shirley Jackson is. You don't want to win the Shirley Jackson lottery. You remember, you've got to win the Shirley Jackson lottery 3 times. You got to get sick, then you got to sick enough to go in the hospital, and then you got unalive. So that 40X is looking at the slice of the 6X, and that 44X is looking at the slice of the 40X. So you've been unlucky 3 times. We got updated numbers. This is looking at data through January 10. This is how much vaccine escape Omicron has. You are 2.4 times less likely, or more likely. Scratch that. Rewind. You are 2.4 times more likely to get infected if you're unvaccinated. That's a big drop. You are 11 times more likely to end up in the hospital. That's a big, big drop. You are 18 times more likely, with all due respect, take a dirt nap, because I can't say that D word in the Orwellian space, that TikTok. I love and hate this platform, but I certainly love it more than Facebook. Facebook is a dying dumpster fire. I love all my fans of Facebook, but the truth hurts. Okay, now some people might be jumping on this and go, see, those vaccines don't work. You're probably feeling pretty stupid right now. You just showed us this evidence. I gotcha. I give and I take away. If you're on malcontentnews.tv or other channels, you can see this slide that shows the difference between the unvaccinated for cases and the vaccinated number for people for cases. Notice something else that's happening in this chart. Do you see this? You can't see it now because I turned it off of the other camera. Let me bring it back. Cases for the vaccinated are already in decline in King County, but they're still growing for the unvaccinated. And there's a huge difference. The new case rate on January 10th for the unvaccinated, 595. And for the vaccinated, 189. Kind of a big difference. How about hospitalizations? Look at this chart. This is massive difference. And take a look again, what's happening for hospitalizations for the vaccinated. It looks like it's hitting a peak. And look what's happening for vaccinations for the unvaccinated, hospitalizations for the unvaccinated. It is still going off like a rocket ship. 20.1 out of 100,000 for unvaccinated. This is King County. And 1.73 for the vaccinated. The other thing I want to show is mortality, unalives, right? It hasn't started going up yet. Ooh, excuse me. It's not COVID. I'm going to, 1 second here. I need a water break. It's a huge difference. It's the unvaccinated. Again, there is some good news. Now I'm going to bring him. See, it's up and down. He's bringing me up. He's bringing me down. I laughed. I cried. I banged my head against the wall. I got mad at him. I liked him again. New cases have likely peaked in King County, Snohomish County, Pierce County, Clown County, Thurston County. I mentioned that earlier. Hospitalizations in those areas are going to peak in the next 14 to 21 days. I don't know where we're going to put them, but we're going to find a place for them. Mortality has just started to increase. And if you're not on the other channels, you can't see the chart. For everybody who else is on the channels, you can see the charts. And you can start to see that case in King County is starting to arc this way. But you can continue to see the hospitalizations are going off still like a rocket ship. And you can see mortality is up 100% from a week ago. But it's still a very small number. But we are still weeks away. Weeks away. We showed that earlier in the South Africa data if you're late to the party. Okay. The Center for COVID Control. Let's talk about these people. Their operations have been suspended nationwide. Some of you were mean to me when I brought that story up. They have suspended operations nationwide. They required pictures of driver's licenses and insurance cards to get a COVID test. They also required you to waive your privacy and HIPAA rights because they're reselling your information that they got for the driver's license and the insurance. People were getting test results before they were actually tested. Other people weren't getting test results at all. they had unlicensed operations in at least 2 states. Massachusetts actually shut them down earlier today before they announced that we're going to take a pause for a week, but we're going to be back. We're just going to pause for a little trading and stuff. They're not coming back. There's a bigger story here. We're working on a much, much bigger story for the Center for COVID Control. There is really strong evidence that the CEO and her husband are anti-vax and anti-mask, and we have receipts. There's really strong evidence. They are homeschooling their children due to school mask mandate. We've got receipts for that. There is strong evidence that they are linked to an organization called the American Federation for Children, which is an organization that wants to privatize American schools. It was founded in 2011, and they have been using COVID infections and mask mandates and vaccine mandates as a wedge issue in states as a platform to drive privatization of schools. They purged their social media channels this afternoon. If you did not see their TikTok channel, which then raises the question, if you're like, well, why? What was on their TikTok channel? Oh, I don't know, them flaunting. If you ever saw the movie Goodfellas, where they were like, what did I tell you? Get rid of that cattle. Get rid of the fur. What are you doing? Are you stupid? I told you, don't buy anything. You're going to put heat in your head. They've taken it to a whole new frickin' level. He had a video of himself at an auction buying a $500,000 supercar while munching on popcorn like this and then bragging and stuff about it. In July, they shot a video of their offices. If you're millennial or Gen X, if you're Gen Z, you're going to go, what's Boiler Room? If you're millennial or Gen X, you're going to know the movie Boiler Room. They showed, remember in Boiler Room when they went, where they had the office space and all the phones and everything was there, but there was like almost nothing else in that building? Yeah, that's kind of the vibe that their offices had. I mean, there was some furniture and stuff, but it was like a dumpster fire and mostly empty. And he calls over this one guy. We have a TikTok of this. This is up on our TikTok. We were able to grab from help from this guy, Michael, on Medium, who we've been working with. Great guy, great indie journalist. He pulled the video, meaning he got it before they took it down. Hey, come here. When'd you get hired? Well, I got hired in March. And what company you work for again? Center for COVID Control. And when is it now? July. And how much you making? $1.45 million. But now, people seeing the slides have already seen the punchline, but TikTok, you haven't. We have the potential. There is the potential that they are connected to Joseph Mercola. Yeah, that Dr. Joseph Mercola. There are some things that are very sus. The connection is circumstantial. I'm going to put that out there right now. But we're going to be doing a whole story, and when we get that story laid out, we're going to lay out it'll probably be like 2-3 minute TikToks to lay this out and lay the case out that there is something much bigger here. And the reason I think, go back to you, the reason I think there is something so much bigger here is, quite frankly, looking at their behavior, looking at the history of they have a failed donut shop that went into receivership. The Axe Lounge was circling the drain before they moved into COVID testing. These just do not come across. They come across as they come across as grifters if you look at their life, and not very smart grifters. Not very smart grifters generally don't build an empire of 300 test sites around the country and create this fleecing of millions and millions of dollars and nakedly flaunt it for months under the radar. And they are connected to people, and we have receipts for this. They are connected to people way out of their league. I mean, way out of their league. And we got receipts, and we're going to be bringing that story. And if I get on a live, do you know what happened? I want to talk about racial inequality and disinformation. We're almost done. I'm going to get to your questions. I wish you all could see this slide because this ties to the Center for COVID Control. On the right, for you on TikTok, if you're not seeing the slides at malcontentnews.tv, you can go to malcontentnews.tv if you want to see the slides. I won't be able to see your comments. Something broken in the comments. On the right is a picture that's from Q13 Fox, credit to them, that was taken outside of the Center for COVID Control test location in the International District in Seattle, a BIPOC community by a landslide. Somebody went out there and spray painted across the windows, "Beware fake tests." Whoever did that, you are my freaking hero. You are my freaking hero. And there's a long line of Asian people. And in the International District, there's a lot of people that do not speak English. And there's a long line of people lined up there to get tested. Because, of course, while he's buying $500,000 supercars, he's giving fake COVID tests and grabbing up all of the PII and having people waive their rights to privacy and HIPAA to resell the information. And the other accusations from employees is that they were rebilling over and over and over again. Once they had your driver's license, your insurance cards, had all those pictures, they were submitting multiple. Well, we tested them a week later. We had to retest because they were still sick when there were no tests going on at all. And they never did. But they were billing out the insurance companies, which ultimately bill the federal government. Aren't they nice people? And they are connected to some shady people. Powerful, shady people. It don't add up. Oh, I love it. All right, on the other side of the chart that you're not seeing. Normally, I wouldn't be able to show this chart because we wouldn't have enough data in it, and it would create some data fallacies. Because from a percentage of population, Seattle's very white. I don't think people realize how white Seattle is. Very, very, it's my color. It very, very mine. The chart that you can't show here, that you don't see here, is the rate of infection by race for vaxxed and unvaxxed. And when we look at it for people that look like me, there's almost no difference. It's for the fully vaxxed, it's about 82 out of 100,000. And for the unvaxxed, it's 99. But when we look at Indigenous, American mainland Indigenous and Alaska Native, it's 78 for the vaxxed. It's 669 for the unvaxxed per 100,000. For Asian Americans, is a little better. Hispanic, Latino, Latinx, it's a little better. Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, 153 for vaxxed, 1,750 per 100,000 for unvaxxed. I know because we were actually hired by, and we've revealed this before. I did this in another thing. People asked the connection and all, and I was like, we do, but I was very transparent that through a marketing agency, we had a contract with the Washington State Department of Health to do communication about COVID to the BIPOC and the LGBTQIA communities. And from that experience, the Native Hawaiian and the Pacific Islander, particularly here in Puget Sound, Washington State, they are way down the disinformation. They really bought in to it. And there are people that have suggested that part of the mission of spreading of disinformation is to, I can't say it all, I can say it on the other channels, I can't say it on the TikTok. Well, if that was the intent, it's shameful. All right, children's in schools. I told you we're getting close. You know I'm getting close to the done. Staff is becoming sick all over the place. Students are falling ill rapidly. Many individual schools are closing. I know Yakima School District, thank you. Seriously, thank you. Vancouver School District with your thank you. Doing the right things. I'm hearing stories about you, North Shore School District. I'm hearing some stories tonight, but we're waiting for some more information. That's not the right way to solve this problem, North Shore, and you know it. Stay tuned for that story. Some districts moving to remote, I just addressed that. Massive bus driver shortages, especially in Eastern Washington. Massive bus driver shortages. Imagine that, people sick. Maybe you shouldn't have bought that fake Vax card or got that phony exemption. Yeah, I went there. Next slide that you're looking up here is the rate of COVID infections for children from birth to 17 in the various school districts in King County. This data is from a few days ago, and it's way worse today, and I didn't have time to update the chart. It is way worse today. And so people that can see the slides that are looking at this number that want to go wrap their kids in bubble wrap, yeah, I can understand when you look at that and say it's way worse. Now, let me pull you back. Told you. I'm going to give, I'm going to take, I'm going to give, I'm going to take, I'm going to do. That's what we're doing tonight. I have another chart up that you can see here, and this is hospitalizations for all ages, but it's broken out for children. Our pediatric hospitalizations in Washington State, are they up? Absolutely. They have never been as high as they have for COVID-infected children. You said you were, I love the sunglasses. You just said you were going to give me happy news. This is not happy news. Why are you lying to me? No. The percentage, the total number of kids that are sick is still, that end up hospitalized, that are hospitalized, is still a pretty small number. One kid's too many, I get it. But it's not, this is not, a lot of kids sick, a lot of kids symptomatically sick. But the hospitalization numbers are actually pretty low. There's one group, it is much higher. I think you know what group it is because South Africa said it, the UK said it, Germany's saying it, Australia's seeing it, and we're seeing it in the States, under 5. The hospitalization, and you can see this in the chart that I have up here. Under 5, and interesting, 16 and 17-year-old adolescents. Much higher for them. It's about the same from 5 to 15 years old. Not really change. A lot of those were just recently vaccinated. Wonder if that's having an impact. Because we know if you were just very recently vaccinated, less than 3 months, you still have pretty solid protection from Omicron. I'm just tossing it out there since 80% of the people at Washington Hospital with COVID are unvaccinated. Just plant the seed. The IHME forecast. You said you're almost done. I just told you good news. I'll give you bad news again. New cases are going to peak, according to the IHME, between January 14 and 16. Okay, that's tomorrow. But remember, that's not peanut butter. So one of the reasons you'll probably see cases start to go down is the most populous counties, 4.4 million people, are King, Snohomish, and Pierce. That's 4.4 million people. Washington has about 7.7 million people total. So more than half are reaching peak. So you're going to see this long tail as it goes down. So particularly wine country, Tri-Cities, Yakima, Walla Walla, you still got 2.5 weeks to go. Olympic minus Clallam County. So like Jefferson County, Kitsap, you probably got maybe 3 days. You're going to go maybe just a couple of days after and hit your peak. Clark County. People know I bag on Clark County because of Hazel Dell, and you guys are tough lad central. I can't say the PB. Go TikTok. But you guys are tough lad central down there. You are also disinformation central down there. But I got a lot of empathy for you all down there. And, Oregon is on the brink too. It's not like Portland can offer you anything. If there's any area right now that I'm looking at because of these pockets of really hardcore, like literally militant in their commitment against any public health measure on this, and how they're going to respond as this tears through because it's going to tear through that community. I'm really worried for you in Vancouver. I am. Hospitalizations are predicted to peak in the IHME forecast around February 4th, February 6th. at 30, almost 3,200 acute care patients. We're at 1,739. So the forecast almost predicts that will double between now and February 4. I don't know where we're going to put them. ICU patients will peak at 806. That's not total. That's COVID. That's on top of everything else we have to take care of. Car accidents, attempted eatings, industrial accidents, heart attacks, strokes, pulmonary embolisms. I don't know where we're going to put them. ICU, 800. We have 1,145 ICU beds in the entire state of Washington. And the forecast projection is 806 are going to have COVID patients in them by February 4. Where? Where? We're in so much trouble. And so what are we observing? We're seeing 4 to 5 times the cases. We're seeing a 35 to 40% reduction from Delta in people who are getting hospitalized. But it's looking like a lot of that is vaccine driven, not it's milder driven. There's some evidence that's coming out that it may be the M word. You guys got me to say the M word. I said the M word. I'm sorry. It may be a little less severe than Delta, maybe by 20%. But then it's like, okay, so it's like Alpha? Like Alpha was a party? If we have 4 times the cases with maybe 1/3 the hospital, do the math. We're out of road. Like, we're already out of road. 100, and the response for the 100 National Guard, because that was asked. They were like, Oregon's got 1,200 National Guard. Why are we doing 100? And the answer we got is that different National Guards are configured in a different way. And our National Guard is set up as mostly as combat troops. We don't have a lot of medical personnel. What? I thought the function of the National Guard was to provide guard and resources for the state. This sounds like we've been configured to set up resources for the war on terror. We don't have medical personnel? That's why we're only doing 100? What? So right now, like if you think of like bad, worse, holy shnikes, we're just at bad. We're just at bad. What can you do? See, pull it back in. What can you do? If you're not, I'm only going to say this once. I'm really not going to, because I'm over pleading on this, because I'm pretty convinced that who's vaxxed is vaxxed. But if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, you've brought receipts. You maybe when I was talking about the FLCCC earlier, you jumped, what do you mean it doesn't indicate that? Maybe you jumped on and you looked at it. And you're like, whoa, he's spouting facts every which way. And if you're like, I don't know, send me a DM, send me an email. I'll talk to you one-on-one. Because that's kind of where I'm at now. I'll have a one-on-one conversation with you, or I will hook you up. If you don't want to talk to a dumbass reporter, I will hook you up with a medical professional. And you talk to, because there are people that are like, I will have a one-on-one conversation. Now, you want to have a one-on-one conversation to sea lion with me and waste my time? I'm not interested in that. You want to have a respectful question, come in with a respectful conversation, and have from a genuine place, and you're coming in with real questions and concerns, and you want somebody who's going to listen to you, and you are willing to listen to me, hit me up. I'll have that one-on-one conversation with you. Those are the people now that I'm going to go after you. I'm not going to stand up here and jump up and down till you get vaxxed anymore. If you're eligible for a booster, I am going to jump up and down and tell you this. Get a friggin' booster. Get it. Any way you can. If you are eligible for a booster, get your booster. There is a mountain of evidence that the booster is the best insurance you have against getting an Omicron infection. K95, N95 masks. Your cloth mask doesn't cut it. That fancy, beautiful mask that you bought that did cut it with the variants that were less transmissible, Some of them are real fancy and pretty. Serious. They don't cut it. You're doing like the neck gaiter buff. You might as well just not wear a mask. Wash your hands. Don't go to crowded indoor spaces. I've been and it's on my slide. Plan out your grocery trips. Right? That's on the slides. I'm going to the grocery store late tonight because I know there are less people there. And also one of the things I discovered is if you go to a 24-hour grocery store and you go there like 1 a.m, they're typically stocking the shelves then. Not the produce, but the other stuff. So there's your tip for the day. If you have a 24-hour grocery store going in 1, 2 a.m, there's usually a lot of stock going on. Hint, hint. Don't hoard. Respect your fellow man. Do not hoard. And if you're like, well, my refrigerator's empty. If you've been listening to me for the last month, you're like, I'm going to watch this crazy guy telling me I need to get ready and have like 10 days of food in my house because it's going to get hard to buy groceries. And you were letting in, that's on you. If you just showed up, not on you. But don't hoard. But try to plan your grocery trips. You're just going to have to accept. Your packages might not be showing up. The guy that's planning to come to fix your thing may not happen. The bus may not come. You may find out when you wake up in the morning that your kid's school decided to close because so many teachers called in. You're going to have to be real patient for the next 2 months. If you have medications, right, monthly prescriptions, order them now. That's not just me saying this. National Association of Pharmacists is saying this. If you have prescriptions, order them now. If you are on controlled substance, right, things where they won't give it to you in a third, call the pharmacy and make sure the bottle is filled. And they may go to you, yes, but you cannot pick that up until February. And you go, I understand that I can't pick it up until February 7th. But I want that bottle in the bag with my happy ass name on it. So that when I come in on February 7th, you don't look at me and go, well, I'm sorry, we're out of that because supply chain and 300,000 Americans are now in the hospital and the economy is kind of falling apart at this point. Come back in April. So that I'm having this conversation. Well, I have ADHD, if you haven't figured that out. I'm having this conversation with my doctor about what can we do here. Right now, I'm rationing my pills. I'm just letting you know my action because I don't know what I'm going to get. So right now, I'm rationing my pills. Don't panic. Don't. I know we're talking about a lot of scary shit. Don't panic. Where do you get the masks? ProjectN95.org. 60% of the masks, Amazon.com, are counterfeit. Now, that's if you go to like bobshouseofmasks.com. If you're buying from Amazon, right, then no, you're fine. Or if you're buying directly from 3M or Home Depot through Amazon. I don't know if they sell on Amazon, but if you're buying from a reliable store, yes. But if you are buying from like Bob's House of Masks, they're probably counterfeit. ProjectN95.org validates the manufacturers. You can shop by country of origin, and they have child-size masks. KN95, N95. They also have N100 respirators. We do not recommend buying from Amazon, again, unless you are buying like literally fulfilled by Amazon. Cloth masks, they don't work. There was a study. I'm not going to beat this one up because I know it's past 10 o'clock. I'm running long, so I'm going to do that. Supply chain and services. UK government told businesses they should prepare to lose up to 25% of their staff. We haven't had similar guidance come from the US government on that, but if you own a business, let me talk to you. If you own a business or you're a leader in a business, I own a business. I own a small business though, but if you have business with multiple employees, this is what I would do. Even if I was in an anti-vax community, and this is probably going to piss some of your employees off, but this is what I would do. I would want to know the vaccination status of my employees. And I would even have on there, we're not using this for information for anything else but contingency planning. And that's all I would use it for. And I would literally shred that data if I'm in an area where my employees, you get that? And if they're like, you'll get that over my dead body because the great resident, then fine. But if you can get the volunteered information, because, and of course, people are, you're gonna make us get, it's like, no, if that's your jam, it's not about it, it's about continuity so you don't go broke if your business loses half your employees one day, not because they all yeeted, but because they're all sick at the same time. The reason I would want to know their vaccination status is so that I could go, okay, the unvaccinated ones, I'm going to lose more of that group. Then I can understand. Knowledge is power. Understand your risk. If you own a business and you got more than 5 or 10, like especially like your retail or services, you need to have a plan in place. What am I going to do if I lose 10% of my company? Not yeeted, too sick to work. What I'm going to do if I lose 25%? What am I going to do if I lose 40%? The 40% in particular, if you're in a very low vaccination area. So like if you're out in the Palouse, I'd be contingency planning for 40%. If you're here in King County, I would do 10%, 20. And actually, if you haven't done it, if you have a contingency plan in King County, too late. You should have done it, but you can go do it tonight before you go into work. If you, it's not COVID. What's that? It is not COVID. If you are, senior manager, talk to your leadership. That's my advice. I just talk it all the time. We're done. Trevor Bedford, I'm not going to read his quote. I love this quote from German Health Minister Jean Spar. Germans will be vaccinated or cured or dead by the end of winter. He said that on November 22nd. It's prophetic words. He likes this. He like, yeah. Just, yeah, that's good, yeah. That's very good, yeah. Last slide. Knowledge is the best tool to fight against fear. A wise person chooses to be informed so they can make sound decisions. A fool is controlled by ignorance, where fear loves to grow. That's the malcontent who said that. All right, we're going to go to questions. Here we go. TikTok, questions. We're having to, and mods and admins, if you can maybe relay your questions to me. We are to the Q&A part here. We're at Mod Pizza. We have to give our vaccine information. Wow, that's good to know. That's really good to know. I might have to get, because I've been kind of homebodying it. And I'm actually kind of jonesing for a little food from outside the house. So I'll keep that in mind. Mod Pizza. Your coverage is pretty comprehensive. Thank you so much for that comment. I wish I could see all your flipping comments on the other screen here. I don't know what's going on. It didn't, I don't know. Let's see what happens here if I do this. Will it start showing me your comments? It just, wow. The chat is waiting for new messages. God bless America. Why can't I see your message? Oh, I almost can see your messages. Start hitting me with your questions. All channels. All channels. I can see your questions. People are, was there a question about EvaShield? Husband is scheduled for EvaShield in the AM. Congratulations. Because, boy, that is hard stuff to get. What about cannabis and COVID? I have no idea. I don't. I know this. If you have COVID and you vape, you smoke, if you did devil's lettuce, wow, I said the C word. I'm probably going to get a strike from TikTok. Damn it. If you do the devil's lettuce, I wouldn't do it if I was infected, because, the whole pulmonary thing. You're welcome. Paid for the info, stayed for the dad jokes. Here's influenza for you. By the way, here we go. This is where Flurona comes from. Okay, we get them both. Flu-rona. There you go. That's where flu-rona comes. We're making, oh my God, we're making flu-rona. Smoke if you got them. No comment. Why can't we just shut down partially? Look what happened in Tumwater. Look what happened in Tumwater yesterday. That's why. We had them. They're fash. Let's call them for what they are. I haven't said this in a while. The anti-vax movement and the anti-government movement are connected. They are one and the same. They have similar goals, and they recruit and pull from each other. 300 people went to Tumwater, convinced that Washington State was going to set up concentration camps because a fake rumor, fake news was set out and fueled by literally elected Republican officials. They weren't even talking about COVID. They weren't even changing the section that they were accused of changing. They were updating some rules around HIV in particular that actually is pulling things in the other direction. And instead you had 300 people from Tough Lads and those 3 guys, not to be confused with 5 guys. I know, like people on the other channels are like, why can't he say it? Because TikTok gets upset if you say their names. I think you can figure out who the Tough Lads are. Tiny. And, you know, they're holding up signs with, like, you know, not see stuff on them. And things actually got a little sketch to the point, like the right-wing streamers that were there went private because they didn't want to show the sketchy stuff going on. Yeah, this is why. This is why they're not going to shut down. And this is something I'm really worried about at Clark County. Because I know in Clark County there's people protesting outside the hospitals there because they're not allowing visitors. Because the hospitals are exploding with, they can't deal with it. They're just trying to do their friggin' jobs of saving your loved one. They're not going to give them remdesivir. Go look at what the FLCC says. Even the FLCC says it is contraindicated. It's on their website. They literally say, why are they giving them? Because even the friggin' people that you claim to listen to are telling you don't take it. It was actually really eye-opening when I was on the FLCC site today, and I was going through their Math Plus guidelines on what they're saying, like, do this, don't do it. Like, it was actually really eye-opening on stuff that they were saying 6-8 months ago. Do this. It's like, it's all friggin' off their list now. Like, you do these to prevent. But once you get, don't do it once you get, because it's a grift. They're selling you that stuff as a preventative. Where do you think those drugs come? I'm not supporting big pharma. Where do you think those drugs they're selling come from? All right, enough of that. Anyway, that's why we're not going to shut down. Oh, this is so funny. Y'all are talking about the devil's lettuce on all the other channels. Yes, the apple-flavored paste. I like the pulp. That was possible. Somebody thought they discussed. Oh yeah, no. That yeah. The flu. People were like, "What's with flu-rona?" in the comment. Yes, we talked about flu-rona last week. There's a saying, Dr. Todd Olin, I'm giving credit for this, right? And it used to be, if it bleeds, it leads. That's very true. This was a line in journalism. If it bleeds, it leads. Now what it is, if it scares, it's shared. Disinformation people use that really, really well. Well, there was a headline that falls in that category of it scares, it shares, which is, we have flu-rona. See, this is flu, and this is the Rona, right? Now, these are the receptors for, right, these are these spike proteins. And when they go into the cell and they take over, the spike proteins go they open up like a spaceship. That's what they mean by the receptors. And what the vaccine does is it wraps itself around so that it's like malfunction, can't open, malfunction. Okay. See that? So this has got spikies. This got no spikies, right? So they can't. It's very sad, even though they love each other very much. It's just never going to happen. So, but anyway, this headline ran for Flurona, and then people just ran, oh my God, there's a variant and it's flu. No, it's just somebody that wrote a crappy headline to get clicks. Do better. People in my vocation, do better. Ginsley leaving the districts to make their. He's leaving it to the. When it comes down to the surgeries, right? This whole issue of we are going to stop all non-urgent, non-emergency surgeries. It is left up to the doctors at the individual hospitals to define if it's urgent or not. But you know what? Because let's face it. Hospitals make their money from elective surgery. By the way, we're just making all this raking in the dough on COVID. That's a bonanza. They're getting rich. Certain grifters, possibly attached to Joseph Mercola, certainly attached to organizations that would love to see American schools privatized. Those people got rich, not for long. You know, when federal contracts get shut down, there's a full audit on where the money went. Boogeyman coming for y'all. But when it comes to, they lose money. The hospital lose money hand over fist on COVID. They make their money on the surgeries. We know that it's proven. Doctors have a bias to the BIPOC. 50% of doctors in medical schools right now believe that Black people feel less pain to no pain compared to other races, which is complete BS. And 50% of doctors in the United States still believe this. So if there's an injured Black person and an injured white person, and 50% of doctors have this bias in their head, guess who's going to get the urgent surgery? And guess who's going to get told to go home? And I don't know how you fix it. I'm just telling you as I see it. So yes, they've left it up to the hospitals. I think I get it and I hate it at the same time. And I don't have an answer out. If I had the answer how to fix it, I'd go run for office. What do I know about the North Shore School District? No comment at this time. I feel now I feel like I'm a spokesperson for the state of Washington. No comment at this time. Next question, please. Longtime malcontents will know this. I know things. And that's all I can say right now. Doesn't revolve closing or anything like that. But, someone's asking about the North Shore. I have a feeling it was a loaded question because I know there's other people that know things. It's not a big secret. Yeah, if she is in Washington State, that sciatica surgery, this is a comment on the other channels, that sciatica surgery is not happening for the next 28 days. You want to talk about Alabama. Oh, I know things. I love you. You're a malcontent. There's a malcontent for you. TikTok comment over there. It's like, you want to talk about Alabama. I know things. They totally got it. Whoever did that comment, welcome to malcontent dumb. I work at a teaching hospital. Newsmen are much more. Well, that's good to know. And I will say, people that I'm connected to that work in this community are also empathetic. Hate it when you know things. This is not a sinister I know things. Information has been shared to me about North Shore School District. I have been specifically asked to wait to share it. That's all. It's not. It's one of these. This falls into the category of like, no, they're not. They're not. That's the category that falls into. Vita, I see your comment here. I agree. But look what we have for nurses. For people on TikTok, the comment is how could someone graduate with a doctorate and still be ignorant about treating people of all races? Look at the anti-vax nurses that we have, the anti-science, master's, doctorate degrees, and just don't have even like a sixth grade understanding on some things. We're both doing well. We're stressed as hell, but we're both doing well. Did I hear about the Issaquah school? No, I didn't. Tips at malcontentment.com. Tips, or you can go to our Twitter. There's a link on our Twitter, which is malcontentment T. You can go to our Twitter. There's a link to our Proton Mail on the Twitter. You go in there. You can go ahead and send me about Issaquah. Y'all are sending us so many news tips, we can't even consume it because we're getting really big. There's like almost 41,000 of you on TikTok. When I got to 20,000 on TikTok, the mod team knows this. Admin team, mod team, board of directors, I freaked. Well, I really freaked. And the other thing where I freaked a little bit is because people were, like expressing, I really trust you. And of course, I feel I work very hard to be honest and authentic and very thorough and bring receipts. And I made a TikTok where I've made two wrong. I got something wrong. I'm going to walk it back because I wish you could edit TikToks or add a comment, but you can't, right? And people have known when we had more formal shows, our company's picked up a really big client, and it's kind of like, it's a good thing, but it's a lot of work. So I've had to cut back on other stuff. But we would start showing some errors and omissions. You know what? A couple of things came up this week. We're going to go into that. The reason I freaked, can you tell that I've cut my ADHD meds in half? Just realizing I'm all over the place. Get to the point! Just amused myself to no end. I freaked because it was like, first of all, it was like, whoa, I'm not Western Washington anymore. Like, there's people all over the state that are now watching and reading the sites, and they're asking us questions, and we're looking for information. And I became really overwhelmed with this sense of responsibility. And I have to be right. I have to get these things right. If I'm going to make a prediction, the prediction has to be right. First of all, it kills credibility, but there's people that are making decisions on their life over what I'm saying. It's an honor. And sometimes it's terrifying. But the reason I say this is I'm kind of over it. Because when I got 40, I know we're pushing 41,000. Thank you. Like, whoa, really? There is a I know things conversation among the board and our mods and admins and researchers. We have a goal. I'm not about clout, but there's somebody they would be very unhappy if we got to a certain number. And if we pivoted on a couple of things, we got to that number. There's somebody in the area around here. Goals. You got to have goals. All right, let's go back to questions. Hello, I worked a super spreader event. I am very, very sorry. Thank you, Renee. Well, Renee, you're on our team, so you are biased. Oh my God, you're doing great, sweetie. Oh my God. Joy asked if you had thoughts on the SPD fake radio trial. Oh, yes, we could talk about great quest. Wow, a non-COVID question. So a lot of my TikTok audience may not know this. I was really, really heavily involved from a journalism standpoint in the Black Lives Matter. We have a documentary we did. If you go to our link tree, there's a link there for Can You Hear Us? It's a documentary. We released it a year after Chop Chaz. You go watch that documentary. I would call it, YouTube put a content warning on it. Trust me, if you watch it, all the way through, you're just going to be like, I don't understand why there's a content warning there. Yeah, I mean, there's protest and violence and all of this other stuff. I was at when the Seattle police left, when they evacuated the East Precinct. I arrived seconds after the barricades were dropped. I got word that they were going to evacuate. And I was working, so I couldn't just like run up there. And I was like, oh my God, I got to move some things around so I can get up there. And when I got up there, they were literally just removing the metal barricades. And I was running to get there. And at the same time, I'm trying to get my camera. Like, people know I had I didn't have pole cam yet. There's a whole side of me, TikTok. There's a whole side. I didn't have pole cam at the time, but I did have this triple rig. People might remember if they saw me in Chop Chaz with the triple rig. And I'm trying to get all the triple rigs set up, and all of a sudden I kind of look up and I'm totally disoriented because I just, where am I? And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm right by the East Precinct. I didn't even realize I'd run up this road. And I was there that whole night. And I was there when the rumors started flying that the tough lads were coming. Can't say their names. There was all this radio chatter on SPD radio. And the response from the people in Chop Chaz was, we're going to defend this house. Before this radio chatter came out, there wasn't a pew-pew in sight. It was speeches and sit down and political leaders coming in and talking, black voices coming in and talking, message very, very clearly, we are not going to let anything happen to this building, despite all of they're going to burn it down. We have it all on video. It's all on video. I got receipts. I was there and I got the receipts to show it. And the word was, we're not going to let anybody harm this building because they're just going to blame us. Meaning BIPOC. And you know it's the B. TikTok. This is where I get like, God, TikTok, really? And then this rumor started flying around. So I'm unarmed. I'm very pro 2A, by the way, very pro. But I refuse to carry as a journalist. And I've had people, when things got real crazy, and I have a video from March of 2021 when the tough lads surrounded me, got in my face. Some people might remember that video and that live. And actually, at the end, it went really well. We ended up having, to be honest, all but one dude. One dude he just wanted to lay me out so bad. And I could see like the dude that was kind of in charge, kind of doing, with the hand like this, or, kind of like, pull it back. All that was live. But I refuse to carry when I'm a journalist because that's not your place. You're there to tell a story. You are not there to be a combatant. There have been times when I've said, hey, or there's been times I've had somebody watching my back. There were a number of situations like, yeah, I'll come in and do this. I need someone on my 6. I've had that a lot more than once. But I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I'm a big fan of the Constitution that includes all amendments. People think, wait a minute, liberals have pew-pews? Yeah, we do. We have pew-pews. Would have the barricades and the pew-pews shown up without that radio chatter or without it? Certainly not to the extent that happened. They hardened really fast. I positioned myself in a place where I was like, okay, I'm going to have cover. And I'm not going to get into where I was, but it was like, I'm going to have cover here. I'm not in a place where I'm going to be forced to run in a straight line, right? I can kind of move from cover to cover very quickly if things start going sideways. It was a crappy tactic, and I think it escalated things. I'm going to close. It's a great question. I love this question. I could talk about this for an hour. Must be an old school malcontent that asked this question about it because they must know that I was there for all this. I feel that the Seattle Police Department ran a perfect textbook case in how not to respond to an incident, a situation like this. Everything that they did from May 29 to September, well, actually, from about May 25, from about May 29 to about October 3, or maybe actually even later. Let me do this one more time. I can tell the ADHD meds. Rewind. Everything the Seattle police did from May 29 to about October 13, they did wrong. Wrong. Everything. Everything they did just kept dialing the volume up. Kept both sides. Both sides. And what did you get? Like, neither side won. The Black Lives Matter movement didn't get a whole lot of anything from what they wanted. They got a few things, but it's crumbs. Mike Solon still has his job, but his police union is gutted, right? He's got 800 less, 700, 800 less police officers. That's a lot of union dues. And Mike Solon's not getting into the police union. Just putting it out there. Nobody got anything they wanted out of it. So I think it was total BS. And I was convinced it was real. I was there. I was convinced it was real. But I was like, I'm not backing down. I'm here with the camera, and I'm going to film. And if I have to play combat reporter, I'm going to play combat reporter. And again, there was a thread. People showed me a thread like on some page, like people, hey, you got to look at this, right? Because somebody was like, I just discovered this guy. The man, he was really good. He did like, there was just all these comments. I know the mod team admins board. They got I'm getting the feels thinking about it, right? Because, you know, a lot of time's gone by. And to read this later, I'll like literally comment, he's the real deal. Man, he was running with all this gear and in there. He's the cops. He was, you know, he's the dude. Great, you know, fair, great coverage. You have no idea, you people, like the lift that gave, not just me, the whole team. Everybody was like, so needed to hear this. Because we're looking at the COVID case, we're seeing the deaths going on, we're seeing this stuff. It's like, we're losing people. We're trying to save people. It's not getting out. We're trying to save people, and it's hard. So anyway, there you go. That's that. Namibia. I don't know. Namibia will get out. The documentary Namibia. Yes, Namibia will get. Shelley, you keep hammering me on that. Oh my God, several people Namibia. All right. Oh, Renee. Oh my God, look at you guys who rocked. I am drinking I'm seeing your comment about the Death Wish coffee. That's a brand of coffee, TikTok. I said the D word. Yeah, I'm drinking hella coffee. What I'm doing is I'm waking up. I am drinking hella coffee in the morning, and then I'm taking a half dose in the afternoon. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, and the anti-vaxxers, you're messing up my Christmas. Thanks. Oh, wait. Oh, wait a minute. No. Oh, wait a minute. I know you're a mod already. Here's another. I'm scrolling up because I know comments have gone by. I'd be less engaged if SBT did not decide to tear gas me and other Seattle pals. Yeah, absolutely. Joey Wiesner put it best. Absolutely put it best, and I'm going to give credit to Joey when he said this. I came for George Floyd. I stayed because of the Seattle Police Department. That is absolutely encapsulates it. Dr. Mrs. Malcontent and I did not go on May 29 to the George Floyd March. We did not go there because she's with me. I didn't go there as a journalist. I went there as somebody who has a black daughter-in-law who will one day have black mixed race grandchildren. And I want them to live in a better world. That's why I was there. And we got tear gassed. And we watched, you can go search. Our videos got used by a couple of TVs. So we saw, and, no, these were not. These were not allies. You're just adding, no. These weren't allies. These were not black. These were people that looked like me, just younger, who were at every place when it blew up with the Popo. They were, and it was Dr. and Mrs. Malcontent. It was like, that's the same dudes. There they are again. Because we were trying to get out of the crap show on the 20. We got receipts. We got video. Because I just was like, I was total, no rigs, no state. I'm just holding my phone because I didn't know what else to do at that point. Like, whoa, what the heck's going on here? So, yeah, I came for George Floyd and I stayed for the Seattle Police Department. Yes. Oh, watch them destroy. You all are trying to keep me. The mods and admins are like, you don't got a lot of Ritalin, and they're trying to keep them on the show. I hate when this happens. I also see that we're under 100 viewers on TikTok, so we're probably going to wind this down. Yeah. PTSD. I had multiple PTSD and serious PTSD. I had to get last New Year's Eve was when Dr. and Mrs. Malcontent was like, you need to talk to someone. We were having New Year's Eve dinner. Somebody set off a big mortar, a big firework mortar, and it was close. It was one of our neighbors. I'm not complaining. I'm not bitching about fireworks, but it was close, really close. That, it can cust off the glass and we're sitting eating and I literally jumped up, almost flipped the chair backwards. I jumped up so fast. And she literally just and I'm like, it startled me. And she's like, you really need to talk to someone because that's not a good reaction. I'm like, yeah, that's not a good reaction. A lot of flashbangs. The 6th, when they overran the medic station, and we had to evacuate out. You go watch the documentary. Because I had a GoPro on at that point. Because at that point I'm filming. As this is on GoPro. And people who've watched it have said consistently that this is the hardest part of the documentary to watch. You got no idea how hard it was for me. And the thing is, in the moment, this is a superpower that people have with ADHD, right? In that moment, I'm so focused, right? Everything slows down, my thought, because it's like my body speeds up to where my brain's at. And so now it's just like, and I can make all the right decisions really fast and evaluate my situation very, very fast. My situational awareness is off the friggin' chart. I go from clumsy, dad joke Jewish white dude to Terminator. And people saw it. I don't mean Terminator in the sense that I'm breaking, it's just, this decision. And there generally were the right decisions. So in the moment, in that scene in the documentary, it was all, I remember everything, and there was not a sense of chaos. And then you watch the video and it's chaos. And I'm very, very calm and focused. But afterwards, 10th and Pine took me a long time to walk on that street and not feel the anxiety coming up. Thanks, SPD. And Washington State National Guard. Thanks. Appreciate it. Got good video of it. I think a lot, Jillian, yes, I think there's a lot of us that are connected because we are seriously trauma bonded. By the way, protest family and streamer family, I heard from TK today, and TK's doing great. And TK reached out to me about doing some food donations to the Jewish community because TK is this amazing, beautiful human being, and TK, I guess, remembered that I'm Jewish. And he was like, hey, I've got some kosher food. I want to donate it. Do you know anybody can use it? I'm like, I'm going to contact my rabbi. And we're getting it to the rabbi. And it's going to go out. And it will literally go out to needy. Yes, there are needy Jewish families. It is going to go out to needy Jewish families tomorrow as part of Shabbat. So anyway, TK is still making the world a better place. And it's just amazing to hear from TK out of the blue today. I thought, look, I'm seeing the comments blow up in the old school channels, and people are like, TK! Let's see what else we got here. Oh, God, you're blowing up the comments on both sides. She is. TK is amazing. That's right. Renee remembers my street name. My street name was Grandpa. And it was funny. Some people, don't call him that. And I'd be like, I love it. I absolutely love it. I felt like I had a bunch of like Gen X kids. And one of the things that I've learned, it's, you know how like when you're in your 20s and 30s and people are going to say there's things you don't understand until you get like into your 40s or your 50. It's true. It really is. Wisdom is so underrated. If I had been 35, 30 in those situations, and I had had the experience that I had during Occupy, I'd have been really vocal and probably pissed a lot of people off. You're doing this wrong. You're doing that wrong. You need to do that. You need that. We did this and it didn't work. And blah. And let me tell you, they don't want to hear it. People don't want to hear it. But because I had the wisdom, I was more kind of like Grandpa, and I used that wisdom. And sometimes I would be like, maybe interviewing or somebody is like, let's try to look at it from this perspective. Let me ask you this. And I think the other thing, I know people on the right are like, you're just a crazy liberal. And I hated that because there were things that were happening. I would say on camera, just because we're showing it doesn't mean that we agree with it. We support diversity in tactics, but just because I'm showing the camera, I'm not condoning what, just because the news shows you something happening doesn't mean that news station or journalist, they're bringing you the news. That's it. And likewise, I remember there was a homeless sweep going on in Seattle. And there was a guy, they called them Chuds. I get to do the Chud button. I haven't done the Chud button in such a long time.
These are Chuds. Cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers.
There were Chuds. There was a Chud that we had. We interviewed him, and Chud and I agreed on a lot of stuff. I interviewed at that homeless suite an SPD officer, and we agreed on some stuff. I interviewed some, hardcore homeless advocates. And the thing was, some people may have seen that stream. The Chud, the cop, the homeless advocates, they all said the same thing. They all agreed what the problem was and why the problem existed. There was no disagreement at all. Where it disconnected was how to fix it. That was the disagreement. That's where it fell apart. But they were not this far apart. They were actually probably this close. People saw that live. You know the one I'm talking about. And it's just sad because these bloodsuckers in Washington, D.C. that don't work for us at all, they don't. If you think Trump, Biden, and I'm sorry, Bernie bros, Bernie, you think any of these a-holes care about us? They don't. They're all bought. Every single friggin' one of them. They're totally bought. Who got billions and billions and billions of dollars of bailouts? And who got $1,200 checks? And who worked really hard to convince you that those $1,200 checks were going to bankrupt America? You think they work for you? Laughable. And I don't know how to fix it. I know people are, well, how would you fix it? I was like, I know how to fix it. I would run for office. We're in such a bad friggin' place in this country. And I think we're going to a much worse place. And I don't know how to stop it. I don't think we can stop it. That's a whole different show. If we're disconnected on how to fix it, why not try all the things? I think it's an interesting question, right? I think the problem that you have is that everybody who's trying to fix all the things or trying to different ways of doing it are going to have agendas because they so want to be right. If you're going to we'll try it your way here, we'll try it your way there, and we'll come back at 2 years and compare notes on what actually worked. I think the problem is everybody's going to have an agenda to want to prove that their way worked. Look, I'm going to talk about the unhomed situation here in Washington State, but particularly Western Washington. But go look at some videos of Boise, Idaho, folks. Not this time of year where it's really friggin' cold. There are people living in RVs and stuff in Boise, Idaho. They're sketch. This isn't a liberal city thing. I've seen the pictures and videos in Idaho. It's not just a liberal city thing. Here's the thing I firmly believe. In King County, between public and private investment, so not just all our tax dollars, between public and private investment, $1 billion with a B is spent on servicing the unhomed. And I've brought receipts to that number a bunch of times. And we have been spending $1 billion plus a year for 6 years now, maybe 7. That's why I pause. I'm adding it up in my head. 6 or 7 years. And it's only getting worse. Every year, it gets worse. Because I want to say this very clearly. I am not directing this at all homeless advocates. There are some homeless advocates that are doing amazing work and great work. But there's a lot of homeless advocates who are very invested in their paychecks. And if we actually solved homelessness, guess who would become homeless? And so they have a vested interest in perpetuating the problem, not actually solving it. And the thing, I did this, maybe I'll do a TikTok on this one day. I know it's going to probably get on the wrong side of TikTok if I do it. And there'll be just all these different things. And maybe it wouldn't. Actually, I think when we did this one and we had it, I don't know, mods, admins, pop it up in the big screen, the other channels. Actually, I think we had people from the other side that stuck around. They were like, I think that was one where we did. And they were like, I don't agree with you, but I just like everything that you just said. And how you laid it all out. I did a thing where I laid it out where it was like, okay, there is estimated this number of homeless people. We have $1 billion. And if we were to spend it this way, and I included $154 million in that math to pay the fat salaries of the people that are invested in not really fixing the problem, but keeping the problem going, that there is absolutely no reason in King County there should be a single unhomed person minus the people that are so mentally ill, or, because I know some people do not, you can't lump in addiction. I get it. That's why I'm saying or and really emphasizing or addicted. And there is a cross section that have both, and they are two separate problems that require separate ways of treatment. There is always going to be a subset of people that no matter what are not going to live in the boundaries of any kind of society. We will never solve this. We will never get homelessness to zero. That's a pipe dream. And that is because of mental illness, and that is because of drug and addiction. Two separate problems, often intertwined. The last time we did the math, people on TikTok are going to hear this for the first time. $85,000 a year per unhomed person. There shouldn't be unhomed people in King County dropping $85,000 a year. But there is, because we're just not interested in fixing the problem. Renee, I would love to get an opportunity to talk to Bruce Harrell. I know that's something you can make. I don't know if you can make it happen, but Renee, would love to get an interview with Bruce Harrell. Let him settle in, get the COVID thing going, but I would love to get another interview with Bruce Harrell. And I'm not going to roast him. I want to know what his homeless plan is, and I want to ask him some respectful and tough questions. Yeah, we actually interview, like, Renee interviewed Dr. Fauci. Like, we had Dr. Fauci on the show. Not on TikTok, but on the other channel. We weren't on TikTok then, but we did. We were just starting. Oh my God, our little channel? What? Love you, Renee. All right, we're going to wind this down. A couple more questions, and we're going to call this good. I'm reading comments here, that's all. See, Jillian, that's what we're spending now? Just rent them an apartment. That's part of it. Yes, exactly. But they also need, right, they need medical, and they need education, and they need mental health, and potentially drug or alcohol treatment, and they need vocational training. They might need English as a second language training. But even with all of that, $85,000 a year could put them in an apartment, not in some halfway house, could put them in their own friggin' apartment and provide all of that stuff. Because remember, let's say you have a family of 4 that are unhomed. This isn't $85,000 times 4 now. So what, a family of 4, if they were unhomed in this model, right, would be living off of $340,000. You're living large on $340,000. So you don't have to put them up in a $2 million house, right? You put them in a nice apartment with 3 bedrooms, because 2 kids, right? Each kid gets their own bedroom, because stability is one of the first things in dealing with the underlying conditions. This is one I would go to the mat on in this. You know, rarely is I don't think I have the answers. I'm just going to put it out there. But on the unhomed one, I'll go to the mat on that one. Renee totally rocked the Fauci interview. I don't know, it's funny. Some people are going to be starstruck that we had Fauci, and other people are just going to like, I hate you even more. I'm the deputy for the BNC. What's the BNC? The BNC? Bro. What's the brand new Congress? I don't know. I would have to know. I'm sorry. I don't know what the brand new Congress is. Tips at malcontentment.com. That goes to our newsroom. If you can't, if you go to our Twitter, there's a link to a Proton email. So hit us up there. And we could talk. But right now, we're like up to here with COVID. So I can't say like, yes, and we can get you on next week. That I can't say. But because it's COVID. I'm actually loving that. Like, mods and admins I know are just like, well, he just shut up and let us go to bed. I can feel you. I can feel it. I can feel the energy. But I think you can see talking about something other than COVID is actually lifting my spirits up, and I really need it. What does liberal mean? Yes, I know, right? Define liberal. Oh, God. I never had the phone plugged in this whole time. Oh, that's a problem. Oh, shit, the plug fell out and I just never noticed it. Brief pause for technical difficulties. TikTok. I just got the your phone's ready to die notice. Okay, there we go. By the way, TikTok. Remember, like, if you saw the thing where I was like, oh my God, somebody sent me a Stream Deck, and people are like, what's a Stream Deck? And I was like, it's got programmable buttons, and it makes like the show easy to run because I detached the phone anyway. All right, let's see here. How do I do this? How do I do this? Nope, that's not how I do this. Oh, wait a minute, this is how we do it. There we go. There you go. That's what a Stream Deck is. So this is what the rest of the world is seeing right now. So they see in all of that. So that, that's the OBS monitor. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to show you the Stream Deck button, but I'm not here on the keyboard. I'll pull it back so you don't see it. I'm on the keyboard. Let's do a little. Here, we'll do a little clip here.
Hallelujah! Holy shit! Where's the Tylenol?
Anyway, that's what Stream Deck basically does. I didn't have to do anything. I don't have to use the mouse. I don't have to click or anything like that. So anyway, it was anonymous. Whoever sent this, wow, just wow. And I'm pretty talented at programming this as a device. So like if you're seeing that blinking red light, that's for the second microphone, and the blinking red light means it's muted. By the way, did you know, old school malcontents, I haven't had a mute error since I started the ADHD drugs. You got to give me that. I started the ADHD meds. There has not been a mute disaster since. I used to be muted all the frickin' time. I'd be like 3 minutes going, and there would just be streaming in the chat. You're muted! Anyway, whoever sent me this, just, wow, thank you so much. We'll flip the camera back. Anyway, that's what a Stream Deck does. Y'all are amazing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there is an Amazon wish list in our link tree, and I'm not pimping for it. I'm Gen X. I don't like asking for help. I don't like asking for recognition. Makes me uncomfortable. Gen X knows just what I'm talking about. We're terrible at asking for help. We're terrible. Did I do a good job? We're terrible at asking this shit. And I was really uncomfortable setting up that list. And I said it, and I didn't tell anyone. I just put it up there. And then like a week later, like, there's a package for the malcontent. I'm like, no way. Really? Somebody just found the list and they just, oh my God. Oh, Elgato, yes. Elgato Stream Deck is amazing. Ooh, wait a minute. Shoot. Mods and admins, I accidentally just closed the chat. I saw the chat up. I don't know if that's y'all chatting or if that was for me, but I just accidentally closed it. If you resend, it'll reopen. If it wasn't for me, don't worry about it. Let's see, anything else? It's been a long time since we've had to send Dr. Mrs. Malcontent to tell you to unmute. It has. Okay, we'll have to see what that is. Can we get? Renee. I'm past 40K. Get me to 30K. We want 50K. New gifters, thank you so much. I am gonna like 2 shout outs for 2 things, especially because the people that are watching now are the really committed ones because we've been going too long. And mods admins, I'm pulling the plug because I still got to go to the store and I got to go I got to go see TK in the morning. I'm so jazzed. I'm bummed. TK is gonna get dude, elbow really far. Sorry, I would love to give you just big, but Omicron. 28K what? Really? 28K likes on this stream? Holy ass crackers! 28 too. You all are doing everything to keep me on this live. I don't know, crank up the likes. But I am winding it down with or without. Y'all are terrible. No, we want them to keep going. We like ADHD malcontent. Two things I'm going to pimp because the hardcore audience is here. Number one, I learned, we have a TikTok, it's pinned, but something I learned about a week ago, when you have 50,000 followers, you get playlists. Playlists would be a very big deal for us because we can start categorizing the news into playlists. So then, for instance, if you're in Washington and you don't want to hear about BIPOC, LGBTIQ, right? You don't want to hear, like, Seattle, I don't care, right? You're in Yakima. It's not that you don't want to hear about it, right? Like, you're in Yakima, you don't want to hear about Seattle politics, right? Totally legit. That's totally legit. You want to hear about the COVID stuff. You want to hear about maybe the fun stuff. Right now, if you go to our TikTok page, it's just whatever we made in the order we made it. If we have playlists, we can start categorizing stuff, which makes it then really easy for you to go, I just want Washington news. Okay, here's a playlist, Washington news, as opposed to COVID. I just want the COVID updates. Okay, COVID update. I want science. You know what? I'm tired of all the doom and gloom. I just want Splendid Saturday. We are on TikTok, and you know what? We're going to bring it back on the other channels. I'm committing to this right now. Now, there's been a couple of times where I've come on and I'm like, look, I know it's Splendid Saturday. I'll explain what Splendid Saturday is in a second. I know it's Splendid Saturday. And I said, but this news story is too big and we're going to have to talk about it because it's just huge. And there's a couple of times where that's happened. Splendid Saturday is no bad news. We're just going to do good news. Feels good news. Like, for instance, if I had a package arrive today, I would wait to open it until and I'm not pimping for the list. I'm just using it as an example because people apparently really enjoy watching me open up these packages because I guess I open them up like I'm 5. Because I truly am just gobsmacked when I get it's. Well, you see, the videos aren't cut. It's just like, this is just, yeah, I love it. That's number one. Number two, if you like independent journalism, if you like this stuff, if you're going to the website, malcontentnews.com, or if you're finding us on Google News, we don't do advertisers at all. And again, I've been very transparent. Yes, through a marketing agency, it was hired by the state of Washington. We had a contract with them to do information on COVID vaccinations and to fight disinformation and targeting the BIPOC and LGBTQIA communities. Totally transparent about it. If you go to the Washington State DOH site, they have a list of all the partners that were involved, and our name is on the list. Wait a minute, that makes you like legit. I know. Remember the days of press Tifa and fake news? And all of a sudden I started appearing on like news channels and our stories started appearing in major news sites. And there it was like, damn me, not the fake news. The one that I loved is like, you remember when Malcontent just showed up and decided he was a journalist? Why did he decide that? And I'm like, I don't know, because like I used to run a whole online magazine from 99 to 2004, and I started it from the ground up. And when I sold it in 2004, it was the second largest website in its category. And I was a syndicated writer in 20 publications. They never respond. Here's the receipts. They never respond. Of course not. But if you like all this stuff, we do have a patron. And like, I have a feeling that people on the board are like, I am so glad he's bringing up the patron because like he never talks about it because he's terrible at asking for help. We do have a patron. You can find it in our link tree. You can find it on our website. And then it's also mentioned in the header video, which is really out of date on our Facebook page. And it's also on our other channels. We do have a patron. It's as low as $2. If you're in Canada, for some reason, it's $3 Canadian. I don't know. The first time I saw that, it was like, how did somebody sign up for $3? We don't have that as an option. And then they're from Canada. If you're in Canada, it's $3. I don't know if you can even do it from other countries, and I have no idea what it will translate to. But we have 2 people. I love you, Canada. We have 2 patrons from Canada. But seriously, it's as low as $2 a month. You can do a $24 1 month. And then, of course, we have different tiers and you get different things. And we are trying to figure out on the patron channel to our patrons, we are trying to figure out on the channel what to do more. I am super against paywalling content. I am fundamentally opposed to it. I really don't want to do, well, if you become a subscriber on my Patreon, you get to see this 1 hour video that nobody else gets to see. It's not who I am. So I'm trying to figure out how to add value. And I know we are way overdue to an AMA. As a matter of fact, this is another thing I'm going to commit right now. Patrons, mods and admins, you got to hold my feet to the fire to this. We will do a patron-only AMA. We will do it before the end of January because we are so overdue to do one. And especially our bigger patrons, I really appreciate your patience on that. But we will do an AMA. And by the way, boards, mods, admins, you could show up to the AMA too, because part of the AMA is to meet the team. I know some of you are camera shy. It's a closed room. Anyway, you can support us. It appears you all did a ton of support for us tonight on, I'm seeing like all the gifts and stuff. Thank you. Thank you. And all the positive comments. Thank you. And if people leave the negative comments, 90% of them are filtered. Some of you may take that as a challenge. But you see the gray temples and you see the hair kind of sliding. This is what happens when you get older and you're a man. Millennial men, let me talk to you for a minute. What's going to happen is old school malcontents have watched this happen over 4 years. I had hair 4 years ago. It starts to go this way, and it just keeps going. It starts to go down your back. I know some people are like, ew, but this is what happens. The point I'm making to this, to people who leave the mean comments, you see the gray temples and the hair. I'm at the point. That's all you're doing to me. It doesn't faze me at all. Some of it's just amusing. The other thing is just I've reached this point of wisdom and done this long enough that I can look at the comments, and sometimes we're psychologically analyzing you based on the hateful comment that you leave. So you're fear-mongering. That's not a hateful comment. That's one of my favorites. So, you're projecting. You're afraid. And because I brought up something that you're afraid about, you're projecting it back on, I'm not afraid of anything. Brave people don't gotta flex nuts. They just know you're brave. And the people around you and the people around them know they're brave. They don't have to declare it. Ever. Ever. Truly brave people never, ever will say and declare, I'm brave, because their actions say it. And it takes bravery to go, I'm afraid. It's a far braver act to say, I'm afraid, than to project on me your fear-mongering. There's your psychoanalytic for the day. And my best challenge accepted. Roger, I love it. I'll die before I lose my hair. Joey, Joey, holy shit! We were talking about you earlier tonight. Oh, are you kidding me? I get Joey and TK in the same night? What? I have Joey and TK in the same night. Holy shit. Oh my God, I love this. My 14-year-old. I have a video about this, right? Gen Z, I love you for the most part. There are a couple of things, Gen Z, you kind of a little messed up on. There's a couple of hills, Gen Z, that you are picking to kind of, there are a couple of hills, Gen Z, that you're picking, like, no, let those hills go. Vaccination, this is, and I get it. You're questioning we love it. Gen X, we love that you question everything, but there wasn't enough of us in Gen X. There wasn't enough of us. So we got the matches and wisdom, and we've prepared you. But we need you alive. We need you alive. and not with long COVID to try to help clean up this mess. So there are a couple of hills y'all are on. Like, no, let that hill go. But I'm so like alpha, and actually I don't know. I don't think my grandkid, right? He'll probably be Generation C. That's what I've heard floated around, right? The COVID, they've grown up in COVID. They were born into COVID. And there's talks about, the next generation after, because they're going to grow up in a totally different world, right? There's before and there's after. We will never go back to 2019 and what we were. Never. We are forever changed. Remember Gen X? 9/11 changed everything. We were like, it certainly changed the New York skyline. And we're certainly very pissed off about this. And yeah, we should go to Afghanistan and do something about it. What's this whole Iraq thing? I read this whole Patriot Act thing and this is a little scary. Oh, you want to do Patriot Act 2? Oh, you're just going to ram that one through too. Patriot Act 2 is terrifying. Oh, you mean the NSA is actually admitting that they're listening in everything we say in our texts and our emails? Oh, that's horrible. You remember all this, Gen X, right? 9/11, yeah. 9/11 didn't change shit compared to COVID. Whew. COVID just threw everything on its ass. Oh my God, Pam, that's what Dr. and Mrs. Malcontent and I call it. BC. 2019 BC. 2020 AC. We're in AC after COVID. Rex, yeah. I wanted to see Dune in the movie theater. I desperately wanted to see Dune in the movie theater. And unfortunately, Dr. and Mrs. Malcontent and I dragged our feet, and Omicron showed up, and we were like, yeah, no. When we looked at the data, we're like, yeah, it's not happening. I really wanted to see the new Matrix movie in the theater. Because, the Matrix on the small screen, like Dr. and Mrs. Malcontent actually never saw the Matrix. She saw the original Matrix movie for the first time, and she was bored to tears. Go watch it on TV. And, well, two things. She watched it on the TV, and the special effects, which have aged very well, but they're not so special, right? When The Matrix came out, this was just, and you saw in the movie theater, your jaw's in your lap. You've never seen these kind of special effects, right? This is just stunning. And it is kind of slow. You go back and watch the original Matrix, it is kind of plods along. She's got a point. And we talked about it afterwards. She was like, that was so boring. I was like, I'm sorry. She's like, cinematically, it was gorgeous. Wow, what the heck? Whoa, a galaxy? She's like, cinematically, it was gorgeous. And I said, you probably wouldn't have been bored if you saw this in the movie theater, because it just would have been exploding eye candy in your face. Oh my goodness. I haven't talked about black coffee in forever, and I've totally forgot about the potato scones. They're off my radar. Black coffee, Northwest potato scones are the food of the gods. Now I got to make it. And the other one, I haven't been up to mixed coffee. Friggin' I hate COVID. I'm just so. You just love. No, I hate it. I'm so tired of talking about it. And it's even more exhausting now because we're on fire and it's not getting the coverage that it deserves. And I can't make this conscious decision to go, well, the MSM is doing the right job and they're asking the right questions and they are reporting on this accurately and fairly, because they're not. Look at how this has evolved. Well, we don't know. Well, maybe, and we don't have the, Laughter and Light. I'm talking about, people on TikTok. Laughter and Light, Dr. Rubin, MT virologist, Pax, epidemiologist, Cat, right? They looked at the GSAD database. They were all like, this is bad. This is really bad. And I know, they were all saying, and there's people that I talk to in the medical community, and they were telling us, it's bad. They're looking at it. It was we don't understand why they're not telling people that, I remember Laughter and Light, I think November 27th or November 28th, she didn't come out and like declaratively say monoclonal antibodies won't work. But she said something on the lines of like, this is not good news for monoclonal antibodies. She's spot on. But, oh, Dr. Angelique Coetzee said it's mild. It's mild. It's mild. It's mild. It's mild. It's very mild. Just mild. Mild. There'll be some hospitalizations, but we think that we could, well, a lot of cases. There'll be a lot of cases, but it's okay. Get a boot. It'll be fine. Mild. You know, it's pretty mild. It's mild. Oh, you know what? The whole country's going to fall off a COVID cliff and we waited too long to actually do anything about it. Good luck, everybody. Oh, and by the way, the CDC said, on the whole, don't go on a cruise ship, but we're going to end the mandatory COVID protocols on a cruise ship on Saturday. Because capitalism. You got to be out of your freaking mind to go on a cruise boat. And now people are like, I don't, and this just feeds into the anti-vax whole thing. It's like, they don't know. No, they knew. If the TikTok medical creative community knew, if this dumbass reporter wrote on December 26th, working with people smarter than him, that Washington State hospitals would run out of resources by January 15th, and Governor Inslee gets up in front of everybody on January 13th and goes, yeah, we're going to have to stop all the surgeries. And I'm going to send 100 National Guard troops because this is going to make things somehow better because our hospitals are full. Like, how did I know? Jewish space lasers? If I knew, if I could talk to people smarter than me, and we could put in some numbers in an Excel spreadsheet and went, oh shit, and then wrote a story going, oh shit, you can't convince me. You can't freaking convince me that they didn't know. I don't know. The only thing I can think is the vaccine escape numbers are high, and they're just like, we need to let it burn. And we're just going to have to let it, meaning just let it do its thing. The COVID, this. Be free, little COVID. Go everywhere you want. That's how we will defeat you, by destroying our hospitals, destroying our hospitalists emotionally, mentally, and physically, by killing off a couple of 100,000 more Americans. Because why not? And that's how we're going to solve the problem. And then the Democrats will lose the midterms, and they're going to lose the House and the Senate. And the Freedom Caucus will push to declare Trump the Speaker of the House. And they might pull it off. And they will do what a certain German did in 1933 and take, by constitutional process, legal control of the United States. And then they'll use the Patriot Act 2 to tear it to pieces. Legally. And we'll clap when they do it. We're in so much friggin' trouble. It just got dark. It's like watching MASH with Hawkeye. He like all happy and stuff, and then the patient he like died, and then all of a sudden he's all maudlin again. That's a total Gen X. So that's like a Gen X boomer reference. I don't know, actually, apparently some of you youngins watch MASH, have discovered MASH, and you're like, damn, this is a good show. It is a good show. That show's aged. And some of it's cringe, right? They're definitely, the early episodes, there's a lot of isms in earlier episodes, but they address it as it matures really well. So I think we're going to call it good. Y'all trying to keep me on the show. You crack me up. Oh my God, I just looked and the numbers watching are going up. I would not call MASH. I don't know if you directed that at MASH. I don't think MASH was definitely anti-war. I don't feel MASH was propaganda at all. I think what MASH was attempting to do was address all of the pain and suffering that Vietnam vets were going through. But it was so raw when the show came out and when the movie came. I believe the movie came out. I don't know when the movie came out. I don't think I was alive. And when the movie came out, I believe we were still in Vietnam. Let me know if I'm wrong. I don't remember when the movie came out. I certainly didn't see the movie until I was a grown-up. But I think MASH was always anti-war. I think that the characters there were very purposefully placed to, like Colonel Potter was everything that was right about the military and everything that a leader should be in the military. And like Frank Burns was everything wrong with the military. And everything it shouldn't be. Right? Because Frank Burns was just terrible at everything he did. And he perceived everything as, he was a hammer and everything to him was a nail. And all of his solutions were awful. And that wasn't the case, for Potter. And I think in some ways, right, we're supposed to watch the show through the eyes of Radar, this innocence of this, somebody who you're like, why is this guy from Iowa even here? He shouldn't even be in this place. He shouldn't be experiencing these things. And I think we're trying to watch through that. I think Klinger is another one, right? Klinger starts kind of from this awful place and evolves as a character and evolves more into a punchline, into starting to address some societal issues. I think the show's aged very, and again, there's some episodes that are cringe, especially some of the earlier stuff, right? The show was a kind of little R word E, right? There was a lot of essay, and a lot of lots. Not, Korean people were not portrayed well at all in the show, at all. There's problems, but I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent. I don't know if you directed it at the shows particularly, but I don't feel it was a propaganda show at all. I think it showed war for what it was, particularly the surgical scenes. Right as the show matured, the surgical scenes got more and more graphic. You saw more and more blood. You saw, they never kind of showed on the innards or whatever, but it got increasingly, they pushed boundaries. They kept pushing boundaries. That's why it was a good show. They kept pushing boundaries to the end. Yeah, Klinger was a Marine in real life. That's true. And he is really from Toledo. All his references from Toledo, that's him. He's really from Toledo. All that stuff about greatest this, greatest that, that's from him growing up in Toledo. It's kind of a cool backstory about Klinger. Can't remember the actor's name. I can see his head too. Kimberly, everyone's starting to hum the MASH themes in their head. It totally was playing to Vietnam vets. I totally agree with that. Wow, I love this comment on TikTok. Lots and lots of ism. Again, certain words you can't say on the TikTok because you're people that don't, they don't math report if I say the word. Lots and lots of isms, but also that's the military. You're a malcontent. That's a profound, wow. I see your name. You got your name in the clear. So I'm just Margaret. Ironic name too, Margaret, right? Margaret Houlihan. That's a great comment on MASH. That's true. And it still is. It's still very R-E. Jamie Farr, thank you. I think we're going to wrap this up now. Thursday. Y'all are trying to keep me on the show. I know this technique. Nope. We've been 3 hours. I got crap I got to do after this. We had 3 hours. I'm calling the show. And the mods and admins are going, thank freaking God. Malcontents, thank you so much. Normally when I do post-roll, I say goodbye to TikTok first. But I'm going to say bye to you last tonight. The rest of my channels. Get vaxxed or don't. I'm stopping with that. I'm going to say it. Get vaxxed or don't. Get a booster. If your kids are eligible for a booster, get a booster. Booster availability is getting better in Washington, except Clark County. I'm hearing you, Clark County. I am. I'm hearing it. And I'm angry for you, and I wish there was more that I could do than just jump up and down and try to highlight it. Contact KION. That's the station that's there because they have been in press conferences, and I've heard the questions they're asking, and they are advocating for you. If you can't find a booster, if you've been looking for a test 3 or 4 days, send a message or call them. Because the thing is, if they hear this a lot, it forces to run the story. And it will force them, if they run the story, to then we want to talk to Governor Inslee, we want to talk to Dr. Shaw. No, we don't want the PIO. We don't want a written statement from the PIO. We want somebody to answer us, because from this outsider, and I don't know what's going on in Olympia, there might be a reason that I don't see, but from this outsider, Clark County, you're getting ignored. And I don't understand why. And I am so worried because how fast your hospital's filled. It was incredible. You went from 70% and it's sunshine and glitter and it's just happy land to full. Flat out full in 4 days. It was stunning to watch. And if your hospital, and I get it's the unvaxxed, and a curve's going like that, I don't know where y'all are going to be in a week down there. And I just don't understand. And I don't know. I can't believe that Peace Health didn't say we're in trouble. I can't believe it. Maybe they did. They may come back and say, well, Peace Health said peace out. But then if you torture Coin, KOIN, and by the way, if you see people online, tell them, contact Coin. Right? If in other groups, tell them, contact Coin, because they are advocating for you in the press conferences. I've heard it. I've seen it. And they got BS answers. The last press conferences that were there, they flat out got BS answers. They got brushed off. They would never position it that way. I'm an indie journalist. I can. I'm not beholden to, my job is to piss off people in power. That's part of my job as an indie journalist. But, they'll be more polite about it. Because if the state comes back and says, well, Peace Health said peace out, we don't need it, a good reporter then is going to get Peace Health on the phone and go, you're full. People are telling us they can't get tests. People are telling us the hospital's overflowing. People are pissed off because they're not allowed to go in and visit because there are protesters out for that. I heard about that. And unfortunately, the people out there protesting are the people that are going to end up being patients. By the way, I want to talk to anti-vaxxers for 1 minute, and then I really am going to finish up the rest of this. If you're an anti-vaxxer and you're around someone and they no mask ever, they don't do anything, and they've never got it, never. 18% of people who are vaccinated don't admit they're vaccinated. They're secretly vaccinated. Dr. Malone is not only vaccinated, he's boosted. And Dr. Malone goes around telling people not to get the vaccination. So if you have somebody in your tough lad club and they are just, wow, we're all at the bar. 8 out of 10 of us didn't get it. Bob, you've never had it. Well, I just have superior genes. If you really believe that. I bet my left rock. I would bet my left rock, Candace Owens, vaxxed and boosted. I would bet my left rock. Brandy Cruz sliding down. She just keeps, I'm just like, just go full anti-vax, Brandy. Don't gaslight us. Brandy Cruz. You don't know who Brandy Cruz is. She tap dancing around the whole anti-vax thing. Just go full in. Go all in. Because people that have functioning brain cells can just see you're gaslighting everybody on that freaking issue. So just go all in. But I can guarantee you, so that's another one. I'd put my right rock on the table. She's vaxxed and boosted. Okay. You mean vaccinated like the staff at Fox News? Absolutely. And you know what? And one thing, I'll close on this too. Like Donald Trump, which I won't give him anything. People want to, but him calling out Ron DeSantis on, did you get a booster? And Ron DeSantis like, I don't know. And it's like, bro, we already know the answer, right? Come on. The answer is yes. We know the answer is yes. Look how we freaking... Next question, please. And Trump was so right to call him out. It's cold and calculating why he called him out. Because he's already lighting up for his run in 2024, and he doesn't want to have to deal with DeSantis, so he's already planting the seeds of distrust in him because he's the master, puppet master, and people want him in anyway. The they. It's the they, because going to a white nationalist government would be very profitable and would help drag out. And this whole thing, like, you're a communist. Nah. People know I'm first of all, communism is not even possible. That's a whole separate conversation, which we're not going to do because I need to end the show. But I'm totally bought into it. We're in late stage capitalism. Can we have a recap of the news? No, we're done. And with that said, get vaxxed or not. I'm through telling you. You're going to do it or you're not. One more thing. If you listen to the earlier part of the show, I extended an offer to talk to people one-on-one. If you're thinking about it, if the data and the numbers we're showing, the facts, and us talking about FLCC and how you may not even understand what they're saying and even their own guidelines on things and what to take and what doesn't work. I'm not going to spread misinformation and share it in a TikTok or share it publicly, but in a one-on-one conversation, I'll pull it up. Here's their doc. Here's what they say. I had a conversation with someone. He's like, well, I don't take the horse pace as a preventative. That's stupid. Like, literally, that's what, I'm like, the FLCC says it is a preventative. Sure? No, they don't. Absolutely. Let me show you. I didn't convince him, but he definitely was thinking afterwards when I showed him that. Because you can tell. You can tell with people, right? And it was very obvious that it was like, oh. And I just asked the question. It's like, you thought, and here they are recommending it, and you think that's silly, but then they recommended this. So how do, and I did this respectfully. Help me understand. Make me understand. And you didn't have the answer. And the good thing is when you have these one-on-one conversations, he didn't have the answer, but he realized he didn't have the answer. And that's when you can change minds. I'll engage in a one-on-one, but I'm done telling you all to do it. Wear a mask, N95. You go to n95project.org or projectn95.org. It's in the link tree. That's where you get them. Don't go to Amazon. Or if you go to Amazon, buy from Amazon, not just some rando thing. Wash your hands, socially distance. These next 2 months, this is not the hold my beer and watch this. I'm going to jump off the roof from the 3rd floor to the snowdrift. Go ahead and film it. It's going to be an epic TikTok. Washington State, this is the next 2 to 3 months. No. Because you may show up at the hospital and told to send your happy ass home. But my bone is sticking out of my shit. Well, we'll push that back in. We'll get you stabilized. But yeah, this isn't urgent enough. That's the reality we're in. So, don't do stupid shit. All right. I'm going to shut down the other channels. TikTok, I'm going to talk to you for about 2 minutes. Be good to each other. Splendid Saturday's coming up. We got one more day of shit show data and then Splendid Saturday to make everybody happy. Malcontent out.
Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with 3 key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events, live, as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. and to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals, including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent.
You fit the profile. You're the malcontent.
Nobody wants to hear the nonsensical ravings of a loudmouth malcontent.
He said malcontents Antifa, fuck you!
You are the biggest hypocrite on the face of the planet.
I say that you're a terrible reporter. That's what I say.